Hello and welcome to Radio Free Nintendo. It is September 12th, 2025, and this is Radio Free Nintendo episode, hold on. 943. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't say that we were on Thursday, just so we could, what are your predictions for tomorrow's direct?
Well, I would have to change the date, so,
yeah.
I'm joined today by Mr. Guillaume Vayette.
Hello.
Mr. Greg Leahy.
No, hoy, everyone.
And I spoke to John. He is unable to join us today. He is not feeling well. That is unfortunate because we could use him. I am James Jones, and we are here to talk about the Nintendo Direct that happened earlier today. The hour-long announced, Tuesday or so? We rearranged our recordings.
I think it was Wednesday, right? It was Wednesday. 2 days out.
Yeah, so we rearranged our recording schedule. Nintendo doesn't usually do these on a Friday, but they decided that, we're going to really fuck the RFN schedule up on this one.
As much as we'd like to think that it's just to screw with us, I assume it was the whole Mario anniversary thing, because
sure.
It's the 13th in Japan. And then there's also the matter of because very often it is like a Wednesday or a Thursday, which is good for us, right? Because it fits in with our regular schedule. We don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. But of course, with Thursday being the anniversary of September the 11th, it's also not a day that you really want to, put out stuff necessarily. You might want, especially when you've got the Mario anniversary that you can kind of tie it to as well. Then I can understand why they announced it the day before then and then broadcast it the day after.
Yeah. So we got a lot to go through. We're going to try to get this episode out as fast as we can. So we're just going to get right down to business. Y'all, this was weird. This was a weird direct. We haven't had an hour-long Nintendo Direct in a long time. Because it's that was usually the length of their E3 directs.
Sure, and that has become a bit of a thing of the past. And I assume, I'm not very, directly plugged into this, but I assume, that 48-hour-ish sort of span where it's it's happening and it's going to be an hour. God knows what kind of absolute mad expectations got going online about, it's just it's going to be an hour, so it's going to have everything, just project any possible scenario into it. And yet there were things in it that were so improbable, I would argue maybe no one sincerely thought it could happen, even in an hour.
So I've been making jokes about the Direct where they showed the Alarmo and how that completely disrupted an episode of RFN, which it did. It disrupted 40 minutes of that show because it's so apocalyptically, mind-numbingly stupid. The TSI for that one was the Chicxulub Impact event where I replaced a meteor with the Alarmo about to wipe out, or rather about to create the Gulf of Mexico. That's the degree of how stupid that was. I have a mock-up image where this thing is chasing that meteor. I'm reusing the image. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but it's real stupid. But let's not start with that. Let's start with the order they gave it, and they start the show with the Super Mario Bros. 40, which is a rehash of the Super Mario Bros. Was it the 35 anniversary logo or the 30 anniversary logo?
I mean, obviously, it's become kind of a 5-year thing because they did quite a lot of stuff for the 30th because Mario Maker came out, the original Super Mario Maker for Wii U came out right around this time, 10 years ago and all that. So, this was the most kind of predictable element that there was going to be a sizable Mario component and that it might well not all be about games because we have got the looming Mario movie sequel coming and everything.
It had leaked that a press release about the trailer being revealed in the Direct that was written in the past tense came out yesterday. Oops. So we kind of knew that was coming.
What was it, deodorant that kind of spoiled the title of the movie?
Yeah. So,
that is really strange because I had not heard about this at all, but apparently I was reading about it sort of in retrospect, is that those images of the variants of Old Spice or something.
Old Spice,
deodorants like that. They'd been floating around for ages, and people just weren't like particularly convinced. It could be, obviously just faked or whatever. But what had happened shortly before the direct, I guess, going along with what you mentioned there, James, about the sort of premature press release, is that it was known that I think Universal had registered trademarks for the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and then all of a sudden, when that lines up with these pictures that have been out there for a while, it's, people realise there was something in it. It'd just been, I had no idea, I hadn't seen this, so it had been out there for a while. Although there was something I had seen a while back, was the idea that at one point there was some Universal, schedule for their, the theatrical films or whatever for the coming however many months that mentioned it being like Super Mario World. That being the title. So that was a little bit of a surprise that it was like one thing that seemed like it could be quite a sort of credible kind of leak actually was not accurate, and then this other thing that people weren't that confident in was accurate. And if, funnily enough, the trailer that they had, the little teaser, was almost, could be, I imagine this, the composer or whatever, it was not necessarily explicitly asked to do this or whatever, I don't know for sure, but the way it worked out is it almost was deliberately playing with the audience's expectations based on these things, because it begins with an orchestral sort of, kind of presentation of the Super Mario World theme, right, where it's just kind of panning across the Mushroom Kingdom, environment. Right. And then as the camera, sort of goes up and over into the heavens, the Galaxy theme comes in. So it's like, you thought it was going to be called Super Mario World, but it's not. It's got Super Mario Galaxy.
We gotcha.
Yeah, they really, it was almost tying into those things. I very much doubt it was that, but it kind of, I assume for some people who have been following this stuff more closely than I have, it actually did function that way.
The other stuff they talked about before we got the trailer, so we did get the trailer, but we got Miyamoto reminding us that Super Nintendo Land opened in Orlando the week I was there, actually. We did not go, because I assume it would have been a goddamned hellscape of people, because it was an entire new theme park that opened, not like one land, but like a whole goddamn new park. So we avoided that like the plague. But it's been open now for about 3 or 4 months. We heard some updates that the Nintendo Museum will have a light show starting in December. And the tickets will have a special ticket for Mario's anniversary. And then we got the big news. The big fucking news. Hey, do you want to go to Kyoto and run a bunch of miles so you could get the Nintendo Mario themed Kyoto runner's bib? I don't think you do, but Nintendo is the title sponsor of the Kyoto Marathon. Just cuz. Beyond that, we got the trailer at that point. And then after the Galaxy trailer, it's really a teaser trailer. We got to hear from I believe it's the producer in this case.
Yeah, sure.
Out of Illumination, giving the standard, we're super excited to make this movie speech.
And just confirming returning cast members, right? Like there was nothing about anyone who would be new.
Right. No, there's
because I mean, given that it is like the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and the some of the stuff with the Galaxy re-releases that we're going to talk about, it would be very surprising if Rosalina is not in that, and then you would have to have a voice artist for that, but they're not talking about that yet.
No. But that gets to the part that came immediately after, which is they just talked about Galaxy the movie. Now they're talking about Galaxy the games. I say games, plural, because we are getting Super Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario Galaxy 2 on Switch. These are $40 each digitally or $70 as a bundle. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do the thing they've done with some other two-part games where you buy one, you get the other one at a discount. So they could make the price the same, be 70 overall.
Yeah, because Famicom Detective Club in America, right? That's how that worked. When they did the 2 classic games rather than EMEO,
right?
But whereas I think it was only a bundle in Europe. There was no option to buy them independently.
There was no option to buy them independently. But like that seems like a more fair way to handle it. But I guess they're just going to be like, no, you want these? They're $40 each. Now, speculation time. I would guess this is a different version of Odyssey than the one that we got on the Mario 3D. What was it called? 3D Collection?
All-Stars. 3D All-Stars, yeah, from 5 years ago. Yeah, I mean, the thing about that version, I guess, is that it was kind of, a particular kind of emulation, right? That was it the NERD group?
Yes.
Kind of within Nintendo have used in other places, right? So maybe. Are those Pikmin re-releases basically, 1 and 2 HD? I think it kind of
so.
It's very much the same kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe now, I guess, especially because you're going to be having the option to play it on Switch 2, and presumably it's going to scale higher with the resolution and stuff on Switch 2. The upscale further, maybe. They're just doing it the same kind of way, the same emulation kind of solution that they had before for Galaxy in that 3D All-Stars is not like the best. So it might be different in that regard. And then, of course, Galaxy 2, for whatever reason, they didn't do that before. So that's the big part of this really, is that that is finally getting that re-release, other than, I think the Wii U eShop would have had it, wouldn't it, as a download? But a real kind of separate, distinct release for the first time, 15 years. Be very, very interesting to go back to it. And I guess given that the movie, I mean, based on what people still haven't seen it, but given that the Super Mario Brothers movie apparently originally kind of teases Yoshi being a part of the sequel, and the sequel is called Super Mario Galaxy movie, like, you had to do this, right? You had to do the Mario Galaxy that has Yoshi in it before the movie comes out.
Does that mean he's only in the movie for spans of 30 seconds or less?
He's only in the movie to use his tongue to reach some, like, sort of nodes that you can't otherwise reach. That's it.
I like the idea that he'll just disappear after a minute. They're all just talking, and he's...
This isn't the Super Mario Sunshine movie. Let's not that bad. He's not going to just disappear into molecules because you haven't eaten anything quite quickly enough.
I thought in Galaxy 2 he still vanishes at the end of the Yoshi runs.
It's not like
he's not in every level though.
No, exactly. It's a power up. It's like various other power-ups in Mario Galaxy games, right? Like the bee suit, or like, it's a specific sort of section that actually uses his abilities. And then there's a few other sort of like, bits where maybe he has some extra kind of powers or something. It's been so long, I forget. Like there's that like, that one in the dark. Like something like the Matter Splatter Galaxy or something, where like it like something to do with like it lights up and then you can walk on the platforms. I say it's been a long time, and there's been a lot of games that kind of iterate on those ideas that you can easily conflate. But boy, he's a somewhat significant part of the game. They put him on the box and stuff, but it is a power up. Like it's not like something that's really fundamental to the game, and yet it's also way better than like the Sunshine implementation.
He's just a juice water gun.
It's very strange what happened there.
It is fun to watch him just like dematerialize, like he got Thanos snapped out of the game. It's truly horrific.
It's kind of like he's some sort of fake Yoshi. You know what I mean? Like he's been conjured, like out of Bowser Jr.
Power up.
Bowser Jr.'s, like magic brush or whatever that can just kind of make things, out of thin air. Like it kind of feels like that. Like it's not the real deal. So I don't know. Maybe that was the idea, but
maybe. So these are the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are coming out early October. Like I said, but this isn't the end of the weirdness here. We're going to get Mario Galaxy Amiibo. This is Storybook Rosalina and Mario with the Star Launcher. But Galaxy 2, so if those of you who weren't around 15 years ago, which if you're 18 now, you were fucking 3, so I get it. Miyamoto in Galaxy 1, there's all these sequences where you walk in and Rosalina is reading a children's book to the Luma. Because she's their mom.
It's like it's optional, right? Like it's just
right,
there's a room in the observatory which is the hub of Super Mario Galaxy, like the castle in Super Mario 64 or Delfino Plaza in Sunshine.
Or the face ship in Galaxy 2.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. To be fair, Galaxy 2, they scaled it way back, right? And that's part of this process. Is like in Galaxy 1, the hub was bigger. It was more like navigating it and stuff. Although it was definitely like quite, in itself, kind of cut back from something like Delfino Plaza.
Right.
But like there's this room there where Rosalina reads the story, and it's just like, yeah, if you want to go there, and, keep coming back to it to see more of that storybook, which basically just fills in some of the backstory of like, who is this person that kind of looks like Peach, but she lives
appeared out of nowhere
on a comet ship with a bunch of chubby star people. Like, it does that. Like, but you don't need to engage with it if you don't want to.
No. But Miyamoto, quite famously, and I don't know how much of this is people creating exegesis from interviewers, but basically he excised that from Galaxy 2. Like that's got to go.
Seemingly, yeah, it just seems like, with Galaxy 1, as they mentioned in the direct, Koizumi, was like the director on that game, on the first Galaxy. And I think, there's been Iwata asks, over the years that have talked about Koizumi's kind of history at Nintendo. I think, was there something about, didn't he contribute to like the manual of A Link to the Past or something? And, coming up with some of the kind of lore that went into that manual and whatnot. So like, basically there's this like narrative thread of him being someone that tries to like sneak context and backstory and lore into Nintendo games over the years, while Miyamoto's like, nah. And with Galaxy, you kind of got away with it because it was optional, as we discussed, and yet you get to Galaxy 2 and it's like, basically treats it like the first one didn't happen, and it's like, or we've had some sort of condensed version of the events of the first game, and now we're just moving on, and there is no real kind of context for any of it. So yeah, it was really weird to hear that it's like, well, actually, yes, there was that book in the first game, but now the book will continue in the second game. Like, we are basically retconning the second game to have continuity at all with the first one.
So it's going to have the book from the first game in the second game. So they're patching. Here's the relevant quote. This came from E309 interview with Wired. I'd like to go with as little story as possible. I've always felt that Mario games themselves aren't particularly suited to having a heavy story. I just feel that Mario games are something that should be much more bright and active experiences. With Mario games, you don't need to have such complicated setting where you have these particular characters with complicated backstories that can weigh down the fun of the game. So he basically told the developers in 2, I want less of that, and they delivered. But now it's back! And it's not just back. So we're getting new pages in the book that weren't there before, which makes sense if you're going to see it across 2 games. But we're also getting the book. Nintendo is selling a physical copy of the picture book that she reads to the Luma in Mario Galaxy.
Yes.
That was excised from Galaxy 2, that they are adding pages to. Guess what's not in this physical book they're creating? The new pages.
It's beyond, like... so as to not be a spoiler or something? Or just like, this could cut into the sales of our games? Like, it doesn't...
No, my guess is they just didn't have them when the book went to print, so they just didn't. Like, it might actually be that stupid. Like, here's the thing. There's no answer that's not the dumbest possible answer.
I'm gonna wait for, the second edition. Second revised edition.
This is the book that Miyamoto explicitly excised from the sequel that is now being put back in the sequel and made physical, that he introduced to us himself. What the absolute fuck? when this got announced during the direct, what I said to myself, because I knew we were recording tonight, is RFN is so fucked. Because I was like, this is too stupid. This is too stupid and too weird, and it's going to become like this weird distraction because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Oh, how naive I was. But, so we have this book coming, and it looks really nice. It looks really well printed. My girlfriend was watching the direct later, and she's like, I can buy the Rosalina book? And I'm like, you can buy the Rosalina book, but just keep watching. I want to say that was it for the Mario 40 stuff, because then we...
Oh, well, no. I mean, look, don't forget, it was 20 minutes long. They had quite a lot going on. Obviously, the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 edition was...
that's right. I'm sorry. I missed that.
A pretty big part of it as well. Again, very much like the Galaxy 1 and 2 component, it seemed eminently predictable that this might get a Switch 2 edition.
Was that part of the 40 section?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm quite confident it was.
Yes, it was.
In fact, the Yoshi announcement was also part of it, which is a little bit more, like you didn't really have to put that as part of it.
It is actually after the 40th anniversary stuff. Because it's what Koizumi leads off with. He leads off with tennis.
Okay. Wait, so it was the bridge between the two, but it was
he
but
goes
the Yoshi part was definitely in it, which I thought was a little odd. They said
it's not. I'm looking at it right now. The Yoshi part is at the 18-minute mark.
Yeah, but 18 minutes is still in they say immediately before the Yoshi bit, they say this is the last announcement as part of the Super Mario.
Okay, all right, maybe so, but they've changed the background. So all the stuff, it is still up in the right corner. Okay. So all of the stuff was originally hosted by Miyamoto with the white background, but at some point they jumped to the red they used for the rest of the direct. Okay.
Yeah, they swapped over to Koizumi as partly with the Galaxy thing. He was like, oh, now I'm going to take you over to the guy who directed Galaxy, Koizumi.
Now we're going to go do all this other stuff. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
never mind.
It was part of it. But, like I said, the Yoshi part of it was a little bit interesting. But I guess, again, when you bundle it together as like it's part of this roadmap towards the Super Mario Galaxy movie that's going to have Yoshi as a featured part of it. Like, because you could say, well, like, if Yoshi can be in the Mario Anniversary bit, why can't the DK Bonanza DLC be in it? Because DK is part of the extended Mario family, but,
DK
I think...
wasn't one of the returning voice actors they listed, though.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
He isn't.
Did not see Seth Rogen, no.
Because I was watching for that, because I was curious if they move away from such a chatty fucking DK after they recharacterized him so much in...
Well, the other thing, I guess, is a possibility maybe they're like prepping a separate DK movie and he's just going to be off doing his own thing or something, but I have no idea. But
because I was explicitly watching because also Cranky in that movie is fucking terrible. I mean, just awful. Just fucking awful. And I was hoping to not see his name because that is a role that does not need to be reprised.
But the point is to go back. The big thing there with the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it was something that I think was firmly in the realm of the plausible beforehand. It's the kind of like the Galaxy games. It's kind of that would make quite a lot of sense.
Yeah. So to
it
give
was
some context on
so strangely introduced though, because like you have like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, you've got the chatty flower saying like, "Ooh, what's this?" Because there's like this long question block, and then they hit it, and it says Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and the flower is like, "Wow," and it's like the least interesting subtitle that could have popped out,
I mean, that's what they've been naming
space.
all of these, though.
I know. It's like, like it was not surprising. It was just like
that's just their nomenclature. But
it was a weird way
thing.
like all the fuss around it was just like a weird way to introduce it. Like just don't do that bit, because it almost seemed like a parody to me of Nintendo Directs and of like their
there's nothing else in this.
There's
nothing else in this Direct that felt like a parody.
Oh yeah. But I'm pleased with like. At first, I was a little bit disappointed that it seems to be mostly focused on like multiplayer, and I'll point out that we're not sure, I guess, that this is going to be online at all. I know that Wonder, like it Does Wonder have online play?
It does, of a sort. Okay. It's a little bit different, isn't it?
It's async. Right. It's async multiplayer.
Yeah,
right. This stuff might not work because it's very much like dependent on being able to, send shells at the others, or like the immediate contact. Like there can't be. They can't do the thing they did in Wonder, where like, oh, you're not actually touching each other.
Yeah,
like
you
here you're actually interacting.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the fact that it seems kind of similar to a long time ago I talked about Super Mario War, this homebrew game that is basically like, okay, choose your Mario character, enemy, whatever, and then like you're in kind of this one screen setting and you try to kill each other. With the Fire Flower or whatever it is.
There was some sort of battle mode maybe in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, I want to say, like that was single screen, but I never really played that part of it. And again, they also, it seemed like there was something that was similar to boost mode from New Super Mario Bros. Yes. U. Yes. So maybe just collating a bunch of different side-scrolling Mario multiplayer ideas that they've had over the years, and presumably some more novel ones as well.
Mm-hmm. Since we've never actually said it, the plus here is meet up in Bella Bell Park.
Yes,
which they introduce a bunch of stuff in it, but it is all still quite brief. They show we'll obviously get a more focused direct on this at some point in the future.
Yes,
It's a mix of co-op and competitive multiplayer components.
But then they teased some single player stuff, for example, like, oh look, here's the Koopa kids in a weird clown car, and like showing the stage, the overworld map from the campaign of the original version of the game and whatnot. So it seemed like there's some other element than just this beefed up multiplayer, sort of selection of modes and things to do, but that. It's got to be the focus. I would have thought, that the single player component, I can't imagine is going to be as significant, but that's just a kind of a guess based on what they showed.
Yeah, he bills it as, quote, other new content. So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. We have to go back to Mario Tennis in a minute, but let's finish up this.
Yeah, because that was like right at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was really trying to direct y'all to Mario Tennis, and we ended up here. So let's get through this. All right, so it ends with, how about these chatty fellows? The Talking Flowers, which I'm stunned. I'm fucking stunned these things don't have a name. What kind of Mario character doesn't have a name besides Talking Flower? Why aren't these things like, I don't know, what would you call these?
It's got to be alliterative, hasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
It's got to be a name, it's got to be alliterative. Charging Chuck and Bullet Bill and all that. It's got to be like that.
The Talking Flowers, what the fuck, Koizumi? How about these chatty fellows? We actually made them. At which point we cut to a statue of one of these fucking flowers sitting in his hand, and the first thing it says is, we kind of look alike, huh? And he looks at it confused and says, oh, really? And his exact way of wording this, I wrote it down because it's insane, is, quote, sometimes, pause, they'll talk on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
Yeah.
These talking flowers can make everyday life a little more fun. Releasing spring 2016. These are not interactive. Was the caveat that came with them. What the fuck does that mean?
Not an interactive product. That's true. Yeah, there's a button.
They don't talk back to you. Yeah. I guess is what it means.
Turn them off, but yeah, they're not AI basically.
But it's not going to turn the lights on for you, or change the channel for you.
They're also not amiibo. Why the fuck aren't they amiibo? I don't understand. Are they at least like compatible
with Alarmo? Are they? Do they interact with that? No.
They're just completely fucking weird shit, man.
Somebody needs to hack it so that Brad Dourif's voice comes out of it with a bunch of expletives.
This was them like slow boiling the pot. Like they were warming us up for what was coming. And they're like, all right. We gave them the storybook that we excised from the second game, that we put back in the second game with new pages, but we didn't put the new pages in the storybook. We gave them that. Now they think they're ready. Here comes the talking flower, which we just announced doesn't have a name. They wrote talking in the Super Mario World rainbow font and then just the word flower under it. And called it a non-interactive product that sometimes talks on its own. Alright, so we're now at the point of okay, y'all are getting fucking strange. This was the point where I knew this was a weird direct. We're 17 minutes and 23 seconds in, and we've already had Koizumi holding a talking flower and giving it a confused look. We're through the looking glass at this point. But that's all he had to say about them. He's just they're going to happen they're going to happen in the spring next year. I don't know.
It's just a shocking amount of physical product in this direct in general, isn't it? I mean, the number of amiibo, the Virtual Boy thing, it's given the circumstances that we're in. Yeah. I'm just amazed that there is so much. I don't know what that says about how successful Alarmo and some of the other stuff they've done.
I have a theory here. So earlier this month, or maybe actually it was last month, Nintendo announced that they had fully integrated WarpStar, which is a company that they co-owned with HAL that existed pretty much for the purposes of marketing Kirby. It was essentially the Pokemon company for Kirby. Its job was to create and sell Kirby merchandise, the Kirby license, to do things like the Kirby pop-up cafe, all that stuff. That was its purpose. And it was very good at that. It was extremely good at that. Last year, I believe, Nintendo acquired HAL's ownership stake in WarpStar. So it became a wholly owned Nintendo subsidiary. And they announced that. Boring, drying terminology. But last month, they announced that they were integrating it into the company and they were renaming it from WarpStar to Nintendo Star. Which, the only reason I could assume they were doing that is if Nintendo has looked at what WarpStar did for Kirby and said, I see what you have done for them, we want that for ourselves, and are now giving them more responsibility. This kind of shit, a talking figurine that you would hold in your hand that has no interaction with any kind of software property, is a deeply Kirby product. It is the kind of thing that I would expect you could buy at the end cap of a Target. I am suggesting, and there was something else Nintendo announced physical recently that they were, the Mario stuff, the My Mario. They are, they're not licensing another company to make those toys. They are, at least as far as Nintendo was saying it, being made by Nintendo. This isn't like a Jakks Pacific thing. I'm wondering if these are the maturation of the Nintendo Star brands being brought to, or Nintendo Star's expertise and history being brought to bear on other franchises, i.e. Mario. Because I can imagine Nintendo would love to be in the driver's seat of the Mario merch rather than having to license it out to third parties to do it for them, because then they don't have to share a cut with anybody. I can't imagine why they would have A, acquired the remainder of WarpStar, and B, then internalized it unless they had plans for doing non-Kirby stuff with it. And that would really feel like deeply, like the books and the new merch for Mario and the entire My Mario campaign, which, by the way, the first set of YouTube videos came out. They are extremely cute. They are very, very cute. You should go watch them. They're like 4 minutes each. One of them is just Mario styling his mustache. It feels like, hey, there's somebody new at the wheel right now. And if that is what this is, it makes a lot, the timing of it makes a ton of sense. And of course it all corresponds with the 40th anniversary stuff. Like, I get why all this is coming to bear now, but the changes to the corporate structure of WarpStar, now Nintendo Star, makes a lot of sense if that's their role. If their role is to take over those merch responsibilities for Mario and this outward marketing of Mario, especially as Nintendo is trying to make Mario a more important character through his second cinematic exploit through this whole new launch of non-gaming related Mario stuff, through the continuation of the theme park, where there's now 3. I want to say the one in the Middle East is also going to have Nintendo Land. I'm not sure about that. It's not open yet. So I want to say that Universal Studios is also getting a Nintendo Land. So 4, I don't know if the one in the UK is going to have an Nintendo, because aren't they building a Universal Studios in the UK? I thought
that
they were.
has been announced. Yeah, I don't know what the kind of constituent parts of it are going to be, and presumably it might kind of start with a certain amount and then expand as it goes on. I don't know the details, but it has been announced. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the thing you can watch is, by contract, anything that gets put into the Super Nintendo Land internationally has to go into the Osaka location first. So that's going to give us an idea of anything new being developed. The one in Hollywood doesn't have any space to expand, so it's just the Mario stuff. But the one in Orlando has everything in Osaka. So presumably at this point, everything that is in Osaka, and thereby an extension in Orlando, they know how to build more than once. Like, it's not a bunch of one-offs they've built. So they could start building those everywhere else if they wanted to. So I would guess any new parks, and they're building 2 right now, are gonna at least have some Mario content in them. So like, Nintendo is very clearly pushing Mario as a brand. Like, we had that email yesterday or last week about like Mario as a mascot, but this is more Mario as a brand. Like, a mascot is, they're the face of the company. Mario is his own face in how they're pushing him now. Like, it makes a lot of sense to have then said, all right, Warp Star, we saw what you did for Kirby. Where's our fucking Mario pop-up cafe? Get to it.
We talked about it, especially in Japan. You know, they've been doing things licensing-wise with Kirby, through that kind of, as a vector, that company, that they hadn't been doing with Mario for a long time, because, of course, it after the kind of early 90s, they really pulled back the reins, from then up until pretty much when the Wii U hit the rocks, and it's like, we've really got to think about diversifying our income and finding every possible way to increase revenue to keep the investors happy, and also just because long term it could reap very big dividends, and obviously that has begun. But it seems like we've already had Mario appear in one of the biggest grossing animated films ever,
like 1.4 billion take. Yeah, just a crazy number.
Clearly, this process is not just like, okay, well, now we just we've hit a steady state and we're just going to kind of coast. Like, it's a ramp up. It's ongoing very clearly. But I do want to mention about the content of Mario Tennis a little bit, because, this, again, it's a pretty sort of sensible one. The Mario Tennis Aces for Switch was a 2018 game, I believe.
Yeah.
So it makes sense as a 26 game for Switch 2, really.
Yeah, 8 years.
Coming in at a similar point in the kind of life of the console, another, game that emphasizes multiplayer and all that with the recognizable characters. I guess the biggest thing they kind of showed that's different is these like sort of different rackets and their different properties, essentially kind of affects what kind of like super moves you can do. And I guess the question is, do you run into a problem where you overcomplicate these things? Like Mario Tennis, like the N64 game was really pretty basic, but it was fun. Yeah. And then the GameCube one, they had the power moves, and it's like, it's on the one hand, the N64 one was so basic that it's like, there's definitely room to kind of make this more complex.
It was a shell of a game.
And make it more enjoyable. But the way the power moves kind of did it didn't really, it didn't break the game for me or anything. I still played the GameCube one quite a lot and enjoyed it, but it wasn't like unambiguously better either. It kind of felt like it interrupted the flow of it, at
Makes
times.
It a little bit more of a party game.
Yeah,
Mario Tennis Fever, just to give clarity of what the name is.
Yes, that's which, given that like Rhythm Heaven's already had a fever, and I don't know how many other times that's been used
I was laughing about that
as a subtitle. I'm gonna forget that a lot, I think. But yes, anyway, the point is, I guess, how will this sort of fare as an attempt to kind of add a new wrinkle to the kind of action that you had? Because I think the 3DS game, for instance, I think, was that open? I want to say maybe.
Yes, I want to say it was open.
Yeah, that was, again, pretty basic. There wasn't too many wrinkles in that one. You could easily attribute that to the fact that it was part of that big tranche of games on 3DS in the emergency, we have to salvage this platform scenario that unfolded when it did not do very well, and the price cut had to happen, and New Super Mario Brothers 2 had to happen, and all that. Like, it was just one of those games like, we need to get this stuff on shelves now with recognizable characters and stuff. And so, content wise, gameplay wise, it was straightforward, not very sort of complex. And still fun. I like the formula that Camelot developed there, but, that was pretty basic. Aces, had some kind of wrinkles on top of that, but didn't try to do too much. So I guess it's, with Fever, with these like rackets and whatnot, like, is it going to go too far and get in the way? Are you still, how many different options are you going to have for, it looks like there's quite a lot of options for like different kinds of games and rules and stuff. So maybe it won't be that big a deal if you don't get on with them anyway. But yeah, I thought that was kind of, interesting anyway.
They have the fever, like you mentioned, they call them the fever shots. The Wonder Seeds make an appearance here because it is, it's very Wonder themed. Like
they're incorporating stuff from Wonder.
The
flowers
there to commentate the match. That was missing from Mario Tennis.
Yeah.
Oh, solely.
They do have online modes they talk about. They also mentioned a weird, like, adventure mode where you play tennis to solve stuff
as babies.
Babies.
That is interesting. You know what's really interesting about that? Again, Mario Tennis Ace is pretty old at this point, going back to 2018. I played quite a bit of it, but, not necessarily any time recently, especially some of that kind of extra, the single player stuff. But I think the cutscene that they showed, like, has direct continuity with the single player in Mario Tennis Aces, like, where they are. Is literally, I'm very sure, maybe this is my brain filling in things that shouldn't be filled in, but like, I think it was literally like that was the setting for the single player game in Mario Tennis Aces, and then like some crazy shit goes off and you get turned into babies and have to relearn how to play the game, basically.
Well, and
we've got to say, we've seen it over the years. People have talked about it, especially with Metroid, right? With Samus gets nerfed somehow, right? Gets attacked by Ridley, whatever it might be. This is a new one for the disempowerment. It's like you get turned into babies.
This is the plot of Dragon Ball Daima.
I was just going to say that.
It's also the plot of Dragon Ball GT. Because fuck it, there's nothing original under the sun, specifically in the Dragon Ball universe. What's funny beyond that is that we now have a baby Waluigi. And by funny, I mean criminal.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I don't think that happened before because Baby Wario.
It has not.
Baby Wario was in Yoshi's Island DS.
Yes, correct.
I don't think he's been in Mario Kart or anything like that, but he was in Yoshi's Island DS. But yeah, so they've crossed that line.
What an awful line! What an awful, terrible, miserable line! The idea of now there's more canonical Waluigi, like. What the fuck? All right.
To be fair, if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be the tennis guy because that's where he was born.
Of course.
That is where he was born. So
I know.
We're lucky it wasn't Baby Waluigi in the first game because that was his inception.
But like, it should be the other way. We should be dealing with executed Waluigi, not additional Waluigi content. Just an unpleasant character all around. All right, but. Hey, guess we talked about Yoshi. There's a new Yoshi game. I don't understand this new Yoshi game at all. It's very weird.
Yeah, little bit interesting. This one, it's again, you're only getting a little sort of glimpse of it.
Mr. E, the book.
Yes, so yeah, I mean, not the first time that they've had some sort of picture book, or I think it is a picture book in Yoshi's Story, right? That's the idea. They've been trapped in a picture book. Here,
which is why it looks the way it does.
Voluntarily going into a Mr. Encyclopedia, aka Mystery, which I guess
see that's how you name a character, Koizumi. What the fuck are you doing with talking flower?
I guess it's just like, I don't know, the Wonder Flowers are the Wonder Flower, so it's like they're just like, so what are these ones that don't do anything cool? They're just talking flowers. I don't know.
Talking tulips. There, we did it.
They could have done, yeah, exactly. That would be in keeping with just about everything else that's ever been named in the Mario world. But with this Yoshi,
they don't look like tulips. But
sure, but I mean, I don't know. Do they look like? Do they look like Chucks? The charging Chucks? I don't know. I don't imagine. I don't imagine that their mothers called them all Charles. I just think that they probably got a bunch of different names.
Chuck is actually their legal name. They are not a Charles. This is Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, by the way.
Yes, with Yoshi, it did seem like, I would say Yoshi's Crafted World was like skewing a little bit younger than even Yoshi's Woolly World. And this
definitely
potentially seems like it's skewing younger still. But it is such an early glimpse of the game. It's kind of difficult to say that with any real, kind of authority or, conclusively.
Yeah, but there's also a possibility that it's more puzzly from the looks of it. So Yoshi reads about a book or a creature in the book. So like the one they start off with is the little flower creatures.
That brings him to a level, and then you go and interact with that creature. The first thing you do, of course, is you eat it. And so I hope the game is just like more and more like I hope I get to learn what every single enemy tastes like.
Yes, because they did mention it, didn't they? It's like, it tastes quite sweet.
Right. I feel like that would be the main concern that a Yoshi would have. Like, maybe like it was not actually... Yeah, like maybe like it's not actually in the encyclopedia in the first place, but Yoshi really wants to make note of what it should be like.
Is it Louis' thoughts on things in the Pikmin games, where he's just like all he cares about is what they taste like?
Yes, so like it's possible there's a lot of puzzle stuff in here. Like at some point you see Yoshi's letting a lot of these characters ride his back. You see this large thing that looks like a hill with the face on it that he wakes up. So like there could be some interesting stuff here. Also, the game looks gorgeous.
It does.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination of elements, isn't it? Because you've got this kind of like hand sort of like painted and penciled kind of look, picture book look, like in terms of watercolor kind of, but with the pencil shading and lines as well. But then Yoshi himself has got like a faux stop motion kind of look to him, with the way he animates them, like and
claymation
things.
Stuff.
Yeah. So it's an interesting mix. You could see certain elements of the layers in the background are like polygonal. They're 3D. Yes. With the kind of shaded with the watercolor and the pencil kind of look and all that. So different from what we said. I have no idea if Good Feel is doing it. We know what it's like these days. If Good Feel have done it, we'll probably find out immediately after the game comes out and somebody rolls credits like that. That's the soonest we'll know, because they don't talk about this stuff really at all anymore pre-release. But yeah, maybe it just seems like it's more like it's strange way to put it, but like a mission based, you know what I mean? Like rather than, like, okay, this is a level, you go from A to B. It's like, no, you go into this space and it's like, you've got to find some of these creatures or get them to do something. Like
this is where Yoshi discovers entropy and decay.
It's a very strange looking product. Of course, it's spring of next year, so we only got a little taste.
Yeah, you got to think that it's bound to be before the movie, right? Like that's pretty much a lock, right? So they're just getting their, relevant Yoshi stuff on shelves before.
Or just with the movie. Like this could be the game that comes out alongside.
Maybe, yeah. But, so I mean, you kind of get I was in some ways a little bit surprised because we were just talking about it last week. I think, just how like it feels like they've run out of steam a little bit on the kind of like less high profile side scrollers. And then this comes along. But like I said, there is another kind of element of this, like, that they tying into marketing the Yoshi character with the movie and everything that they've probably been thinking about for a while, considering, what's been said about, the tease in the original Super Mario Brothers movie. But, it's definitely some elements in there that look interesting, but I do have to wonder whether it's something, that I'll be able to get that much out of, if it really skews extremely hard, to younger, less experienced players. But on the other hand, we did talk about this last week as well, like, just like really challenging games and stuff like it become harder for me to enjoy as well. So there's probably something to be said for something that's just pleasant and relaxing, and if it's got engaging elements.
I could actually see this being a situation where the direct path is quite easy for younger players, and then maybe some of the puzzles on the periphery require more pre-planning of like, I need to go get this thing from earlier in the book and bring it here, and that kind of stuff. That's more side content oriented. Like there is a very clear path to making this game straightforward for younger, less experienced players, but putting things in there that would challenge or at least require more thought from a more experienced player that those younger players wouldn't have to engage with.
But more obscure objectives, or just, you had some elements like that with Crafted World, right? Like where they did the whole like, you kind of ran through the back of the levels. Like they literally just turned the camera around these like, virtual dioramas that the levels were.
Yes.
And then you ran through the other side of them, and, in a somewhat more kind of, challenging, like conventional kind of scenario. And I think there were like extra Poochie pups to find or something, so there's a formula for this, but it just looks like, for instance, we saw Yoshi swallow that one thing and turn it into an egg, but we didn't actually see him use the eggs. We didn't see him shoot any, like, so you wonder whether it's even going to function in that same way.
I think we did see him go into the wind-up, though. Like,
he threw something else, didn't he? He threw like a character into a bullseye or something. So it was just kind of interesting that they certainly weren't emphasizing that. So they weren't showing, oh look, here he is doing the stuff that he usually does in, Woody World, New Island, any of the other stuff that's come out, Crafted World, in the last so many years.
And this is explicitly a Switch 2 game, just to call that out. Because they themselves didn't necessarily do a great job showing what was one versus the other, but this one is explicitly Switch 2. He threw a pointy-headed character at a bullseye. Actually, wait, hold on. I'm trying to hear what he says here. Okay, yeah. Then we get into the third-party stuff. These are kind of not sizzle reel, but quicker stuff. So we have Stormlancers, which is an anime-inspired roguelike.
80s anime roguelike, co-op. So that's kind of interesting, and it came out today. So I'm sort of interested to play this with Karen. Yeah.
Then that was followed. That was Stormlancers. That was followed by Dinkum, which is island building game number 1. This is one of the trends we saw today. Australian me looking game, but the faces are all fucked up looking, and I don't like it. They have weird shading on the faces, disturbing
Luke
looking.
Van Eed from the website commenting that there are very un-Australia-like things in the trailer, such as pine trees and snowmen.
Yes.
So it's a land inspired by Australia, but clearly, I guess the kangaroo thing with the antlers is not an actual animal. So anyway,
no, but I mean, they called it Dinkum. Like they're not being subtle. They're chased by cassowaries at one point. This is from Crafton, so that's November. There was a demo that came out today. Then there was, what is the name of that game? This is in my notes. That's not in my notes. I'll have to advance the video. Papucom, which is a
no Papucom.
Papucom.
Which first he said it, and I was like, "Pardon me, what?"
This is a holiday game where it is explicitly multiplayer only. Puzzle platformer with match 3 elements, where each character has 2 colors, and they can do the match 3 thing with the colors they possess. They can also, it seems like also if you do 4 players, each character gets 1 color. They can also do things like block laser beams of that color, or other sort of color-related tasks that require the multiplayer cooperation in order to proceed. So like one of the challenges they show is literally stacks of creatures, like a match 3 game of 4 different colors, and the players each seem to have 2 colors. They're able to do it.
It's like literally like one of the bosses is a snake. It looks like you're playing a third-person shooter version of Zuma.
Yeah,
like that's how it works. You add a colored bead in the right spot, and then like you create a combo, and like the boss just keeps shrinking and shrinking.
They call it the soaring Papu worm.
Sure. On the Discord, I was trying to catch up with like the discussion, and no one had talked about it. But when I looked up Papucom, I found that Meowth had talked about this in May.
Oh,
because there was some sort of collaboration between this game and the Rabbids.
Sure, fuck it, why not?
But back in May, so I'm guessing this is already a thing on PC, and
I guess,
is
a console. Yeah, it's on Steam. Yeah. It's $20 on Steam. It's been on PS5, PS4, and Windows. So this is actually new to Switch, but that's it.
Right.
Then we got a real look, you can't make a not weird Tomodachi Life trailer. I get that. I understand that. I am not immune to that reality. They absolutely went as hard as they could to make this weird and uncomfortable. It starts with the Tomodachi Life voice that is unsettling. Like, it just is. Like, however you feel about Tomodachi Life, the voice generation they use is deliberately unpleasant. But they really go hard on it. Like, we have it's an old man who leans in front of the ocean, puts his hands in front of his face, and goes, "When is the game coming out?" It's like, what that's the first thing we get. And then the narrator ignores him and says, "Let's take a look at Tomodachi Life living the dream." He tells that old man to fuck right off. We get to see the Mii Maker, and then we get to see Tomodachi Life weirdness, like a character being chased by a giant bowling ball, or another character who's hungry that they just hand her a bunch of lettuce that she then proceeds to just eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
she liked it.
That kind of stuff was in the Tomodachi Life on 3DS as well.
A character asleep on the sidewalk, and then you as God drag another character to her and drop them on them, and now they are friends.
Yes,
this is very.
I mean,
odd.
like it is an accurate representation of what playing Tomodachi Life is.
But they did a super cut of the weirdness, and then we jumped to the Mii News Network.
Yeah, finally answering the question that was asked by that guy at the beginning. Who maybe, like, he was old. I like to think that maybe, like, that was representing everyone who's been waiting was dying to know what the release date was. So, like, he grew old waiting, and so they announced that it's going to release in the spring of 2026. So,
following reports of a 2026 release date, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream will be available spring 2026, and that they have the logo up, and spring slides in, and then afterwards, a little bubble pops up with the same old man in it, smiling and clapping.
And dancing.
What a weird... he dances at the end, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's great. It's a well-executed trailer.
Koizumi cuts back and says there was breaking news in that trailer. And then we get more footage of a girl standing in front of a tree, jumping, and then many small Koizumis fall out of the tree, and she looks on horrified as they run off screen, and he walks onto the screen back as his normal flesh self from the same direction.
Yes.
That they ran off. What a weird, just odd, strange thing that they put in front of us. I get that's what this game is, but if you don't know that, that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to take in if you do know that. Then we get some Switch 2 stuff. I believe the first one we get is the Mortal Kombat collection.
Mm-hmm.
That's which we already knew about. You're going to get video. You're going to get a bunch of games. Then we get the announcement that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, that's the first one, is coming to Switch. It later came out that all three are coming. That's January. Then there was another top-down. I think this one, my notes say this was Linked. This was a cartoon-looking world exploration island builder, count number 2, game.
Yeah.
Where you have different classes that you can go out and do combat with, but also do things like fishing and farming using those skills. Has multiplayer. Linked Banner of the Spark. Yeah, that's the full name.
Mm-hmm.
And then that game got immediately ethered into non-existence because Nintendo announced they will be the console exclusive launch for Hades 2. And we got an extensive animated trailer story for Hades 2. This is a physical release that will be available on Switch 2 from Nintendo themselves.
Sure.
Which is surprising. And it basically gave a lot of stuff we already know about Hades 2, that you're playing as the princess of the underworld. It gave kind of a rundown of the different powers she has. You meet some of the gods that are in there. It gave a little bit of story background. It more or less explained what the mechanics are. This is very much a trailer that assumes you played Hades.
Sure.
And that it is coming digitally in September of the 25th, and that the physical version will be coming on the 20th of November. And then we get some Amiibo announcements, specifically Kirby riding on the Star Amiibo, and also Waddle Dee riding on his, what do they call those things?
The Wing Star.
The Wing Star, yeah. Kirby and the Warp Star, and Bandana Waddle Dee on the, hold on, I had the notes here.
The Wing Star.
And the Wing Star, yes. This is obviously for Kirby Riders. These are big Amiibo. These are very large.
They're large Amiibos with a large price. Have you seen the price?
They're $40,
of course,
I believe.
Of course, the tariffs are entering into this for the US, but there are $50 US.
50, okay. And you can swap them between each other's rides.
Right, you can pull the Bandana Waddle Dee off and give his ride to Kirby.
Right, and it recognizes that when you dock them. These are trainable Amiibo a la Smash Brothers. And then it ominous. I'm going to say ominous. Ominous is the right word. More Kirby Air Riders Amiibo update in the future. At which point, a blacked out Amiibo package with a question mark scrolls into screen, which means there's going to be more of this. Which means we are headed to a Starlink situation. Boys, we are recreating Starlink with Kirby Riders. Who the fuck keeps giving Sakurai the blankest of blank checks? I don't understand. And then we get Sakurai himself smiling about this and promising a second Kirby Air Riders Direct. Because
I love that. I did enjoy that. The fact there's just like that, that one that you did the other week. Oh, we've got more. That was like an announcement in itself. The announcement of an announcement type scenario.
Oh my god. After that, we get our update on the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
Imprisonment.
I believe so.
Imprisoning War.
Calamity was
the last one. Yes.
The equivalent for the Breath of the Wild, whereas this obviously the Tears of the Kingdom, Imprisonment. Yeah, it's this was kind of, I think, the biggest thing that was revealed here, because this was touched on in the partner direct a bit because of you know the Koei Tecmo, that way this works, like they publish it in Japan. So it's, you know, as part of the sort of split with the kind of Warriors IP and the Zelda IP. But I think the strongest element of this was the fact that it will have game share for co-op.
Yes.
I think that is a big deal, because this kind of game is surely going to benefit from co-op. But the idea of being able to do it, you know, with just the one copy of the game, it should, you know, make it a fair bit more enjoyable, I would have thought.
And cross-platform co-op, which is nice. But I guess
that's the nature of game share, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
you're right.
Streaming the video to as long as the Switch can show it.
It's Wii U on Switch. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Wii U's back in Switch form. This is November 6th. They also showed the Zonai devices, which I don't think we had seen previously, but
yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, again, more integrating more, like, you know, kind of Tears of the Kingdom specific elements into the combat. Yeah. We also got like these kind of double techs to use the Chrono Trigger the nomenclature. I can't remember what they called them now with this, but it's like obviously huge part of all the previous Zelda Warriors games. Any Warriors games is like these sort of special attacks where it's like, oh, well, if you got two characters you know, together, they could do unique combined special attacks. So again, emphasizing the co-op element, that seems like it should be quite nice. So, you know, you had the Korok. I know we had the big Korok with the maracas before, right, but now we've just got Korok we've got a more ordinary Korok as a playable character. There was one thing I don't think we touched on when they did the partner direct before, which was they had this like moment of like just they kind of closed on just a little bit of music, and I thought I recognised it, and then I did check, you know, and see what other people thought. And it was, the last time they showed this at Partner Direct, it closed with just a little bit of Fi's motif from Skyward Sword, which is really weird.
I thought we did talk about that.
I don't know, maybe it was off air. I can't remember it being in an episode, but it is strange that, because don't really think of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom like acknowledging Skyward Sword very much. There's things, the names on the map and, stuff like that, but it's something like that where it's like, okay, is Fi going to be some sort of playable character in this? It would just feel really weird. Yeah, but it'd probably be some different version of Fi. It's
that whole canon thing of would Fi have existed at that point? Yeah, I guess. But also the canon can be whatever the fuck they want based on what Miyamoto said earlier.
Especially, I mean, this is very much a spin-off. I know they've been touting that it is canonical, this one, but still, they're going to do what they feel like doing to, make the game cool or whatever. But
I guess is just... Go ahead.
Sorry, go. No, please.
I was say Fi's just the Master Sword, right? Like,
it's the spirit in the Master Sword. Yeah, and like it's a kind of a dry character, really, but it's kind of strange. But the biggest thing, I guess, other than the game share, was just the date, because I think this was the game that was already on the calendar that had the most like mystery about it, because I think technically it was listed as a winter game.
Yeah, it's so November 6th.
It left a little bit of wiggle for like winter could mean January. It could mean the other side of the turn of the year. But as it turned out, they confirmed it for this calendar year. So when that happened, it did kind of feel like, well, we've already got quite a lot of stuff coming after, like Pokemon Legends ZA. We already had the date for that in October. Right. And so a lot of the time that's like that October game is like the big game for the end of the year, right? And you're just making sure you get it in front of the Thanksgiving shopping season in America. The thing that's interesting is how much stuff it seems like we're building up here for after that. And it's not unprecedented. We've seen it, but again, 2017, the obvious parallel. We had Xenoblade 2 in December, I believe, if I remember correctly, or maybe the very end of November. But it set the stage for quite a packed sort of end of the year with Kirby, Age of Imprisonment, and then Metroid Prime finally getting the date.
I mean, I wonder if that date matters less and less for game sales as game sales become more and more digital. Because ultimately, it's hard to give a digital game as a gift. So I'm wondering if maybe that's just sort of the direction, the arc things are on, and Nintendo doesn't have to worry about that date quite so much. It's more about people giving others gift cards or whatever that you then give them the opportunity to spend right away.
Sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, for the stuff that's got the massive mainstream appeal that's the most likely to be in that October, Pokemon, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, a couple of years ago.
Having them out is important.
That's where it's important. The other stuff that is more, kind of like spin-offs or
skews older.
Less mainstream recognition, more enthusiast leaning. You can afford to launch those later, maybe, and still, have plenty of success with them. I guess we'll see. But yeah, it certainly seems like the biggest, busiest sort of close of the year for quite some time. We'll see how it goes.
I would assume a game like the game that skews older, like Metroid, probably also has a much higher percentage of the people buying it are buying it for themselves. Which is one of the questions Nintendo asks in their surveys of, did you buy this game for yourself? Whereas something like Mario might have a higher percentage. I'm not saying like 80% of the people who buy this are buying. I'm saying higher than Metroid, higher relative. I would say a much higher percentage are parent buying for child. Just because a parent's probably not as likely to buy their kid Metroid Prime 4. Just guessing. Also, this is our first Warriors game. It won't be our last. Next up is the remake of Dragon Quest VII.
The reimagining.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
And I love the way that is actually like a title now, because it's...
Yes.
I think the first time I can remember hearing that term in like a marketing sense was the Burton Planet of the Apes.
Oh, God.
Which was... What was that? Turn of the century-ish,
yeah,
right?
Something like that.
Yeah, 2000 or...
So it's been a long time, but I don't recall anybody just straight up using it as a title, like officially, like this is the reimagining of something.
Yes. It looks very pretty. This is Switch and Switch 2. Now they show a lot of cinematics.
But I'm not sure about the character design, and maybe part of what explains it is that, and I just saw this on my Blue Sky feed. Apparently, they made little like figurines of the characters, and then they scanned them for this. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a kind of a diorama thing that they've got going on, just like that iOS game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but nobody else did because it died.
No, it's Sakaguchi's game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually, what they look a lot like that Netflix interactive movie for Dragon Quest that came out.
Fantasian, by the way.
Fantasian, yeah. Fantasian
was Sakaguchi's game, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a Dragon Quest interactive movie thing that came out on Netflix that this looks a hell of a lot like. But the characters look very nice, but yeah, there's something weird about them, kind of slightly off-putting, especially like the old man.
Not the old man, but there's some hooded figure at some point.
Oh yeah,
and he's got like a very kind of thin beard on top of the very kind of like childlike skin that all the characters have because they're plasticky figurines. Like it weirds me out. I really don't like it.
Oh well, sometimes people get beards young. It's fine. Or maybe he has really good skincare regimen. You don't know.
But yeah, like all the characters have this kind of like a new kind of chibi look to them that I really don't.
I don't. I kind of liked it personally. I'm willing to see where it goes. I thought the game overall looked really good. We saw it for Switch 2, obviously, but it is also on Switch. But we didn't see much. No. Next up, they gave us an update.
I just want to say that apparently maybe it is a quicker, shorter experience than the original or the DS port.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. The 3DS version I played, I think, somewhere in the region of like 50 hours of it, and I don't think I was that close to the end. It is kind of infamous in its the PS1 game, and the 3DS game was largely faithful, so I guess that's why to some degree we've got the reimagined moniker here, because it's like, well, no, we know we've remade it in the past, but this is not that. So,
right.
Yeah, I guess it's threading that needle, but it's very, very, very long. So yeah, I guess maybe it's going to be a bit brisker in some senses, some modifications, but we will have to see exactly how it works.
This is like the third, or maybe if you want to count it that way, the fourth DQ remake that we've had since DQ 12 was announced.
Yes,
so
true.
I think that this is part of what's going on at Square Enix right now. Like, these games take forever to develop now, so I guess we're just gonna remake the old ones and
the vamping, and just with different, because they had the HD 2D remakes for the NES trilogy, and now you've got this like you said, it's something a little bit different, isn't it? Its own kind of aesthetic. It's not just like Dragon Quest 11. But it's definitely not HD 2D. They've got this sort of physical kind of element to it, and I guess these are the sort of tight ropes and balancing acts you got to pull off when you've got this humongous thing that's taking probably you knew was going to take a long time, but is almost certainly taking longer than you thought as well.
Yeah.
They do in the sizzle reel later show the HD 2D remakes get a very quick mention that feel like they were announced a million years ago. This Dragon Quest 7 reimagining comes out early February of next year. We then get an update on the Nintendo Today app. They keep trying to make Nintendo Today happen.
It did specifically. I probably did zone out a bit at this point, but because I am not using the Nintendo Today app.
I am, and I zoned out.
I think it did mention basically it sounds like you're gonna get regular Kirby Air Riders updates a la Smash Brothers Dojo.
Hey, guess what, Greg? Guess what we were already getting?
Oh, regular. You were already getting it. You already get them, okay.
But they're and now there's a new Kirby theme, and we'll be giving regular updates on Kirby Air Riders. Y'all had already been giving regular updates on Kirby.
I see. It was they did present it as something sort of novel, but it actually isn't. Still, though, I guess it's like mana from heaven for them, isn't it? You know what I mean? To have for Sakurai's bizarre granularity available to manufacture little updates virtually no other development process would support such a thing, and when it comes out, I don't know what they're going to fill it with anymore.
It's so weird. There's an image of the machine Bulk Star. That's all it is. It's a picture with some stats and a little video. It literally has the spec sheet down here of it, and there's an animated image of it revving, and then the video of Kirby riding it. Good Lord. And then there's an ad for the Nintendo Music app that tells you there's Golden Sun, the Lost Age music. Great. Now we're getting into the meat of things. Everything else before this point was just foreplay. Because the next screen we were met with was Nintendo Online Plus Expansion Pack. And you would think, they're going to announce stuff for GameCube. Maybe they're going to announce things for Game Boy Advance.
We already talked about N64, those games that people have been expecting, and the Forsaken release kind of pointed DK64, Smash Brothers, the original, could be on the way. So it's this is what you're expecting as a rational person.
No, but the screen goes black, and then it slowly comes into focus, and it was only about 1/5 of the way into focus, and that's fucking Virtual Boy. What the fuck is happening? And then it cuts in, and it's a Virtual Boy, and they have the audacity to put the phrase Nintendo Classics under the Virtual Boy logo.
Yeah, that is the branding now for all the NSO stuff, and it sits more awkwardly than just Nintendo Switch Online would have done if they just kept that. It
sits more awkwardly than the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, it's I gotta say, as you already mentioned there a little bit there, James, when the silhouette sort of emerged, for that moment before they actually kind of, rotate it, illuminate and rotate it around, it's very obviously the Virtual Boy. But even just the silhouette moment, it's like, it was long enough that I kind of clocked that it was Virtual Boy, and also long enough for me to feel, this is a phrase, it's a feeling. I've heard people say it. I can't really say I've genuinely felt like it before when if you're talking about something like this, where it feels like you're hallucinating.
Yes. That
was
my immediate thought.
You've processed what it is, but then there's a sort of immediate sort of backup to that process which says, no, but it can't be that, can it?
Right.
So something's wrong here. Like,
right.
I'm asleep or...
What is happening?
Something is wrong. Is it going to be? And then you kind of think it's going to be like the gag in the Smash Brothers rivet, where DDD's pretending to be K. Rool. The silhouette looks like K. Rool, but it's DDD, and he's got some things on to exaggerate his some profile or whatever. It's like all of it was just so surreal, absolutely bonkers. Of all the things, I know it's the 30th anniversary this year for Virtual Boy, but I mean, it's going to take so long before they actually put this on NSO that it'll be the 30th anniversary of its death.
Yes.
It's just like
not that much time separated its birth and its
death.
Right,
exactly.
About 4 months. All right, so let's explain what is happening here, because we've basically just been incredulous. Nintendo announced today, the year 2025, that the Virtual Boy is coming to the Nintendo Classics as part of the expansion pack. Just as a reminder, I do not own expansion pack. There is a very real chance this is the driving factor that changes it. That is upsetting to me. They are going to be releasing Wario Land, the best game on the Virtual Boy. You could also arguably say the good game on the Virtual Boy. Galactic Pinball, which is fine. I own it. Red Alarm, which is really hard to play. I also own it. Teleroboxer, again, I own that. It's fine. It's kind of like Punch-Out, but not great. Mario Tennis, also fine. Also own that. Jack Brothers, don't own that. That's hard to find copies of. Vertical Force.
It's like literally the first Megaten related game to get released outside of Japan or whatever.
Yeah, it is. Because the lineup was so thin, they had to. Vertical Force, I own that. It's fine. Mario Clash, it's Mario Clash. Have you played Mario Brothers? It's very similar. Golf, just golf. I do not own that one. Virtual Bowling, this is also known as Nestor's Funky Bowling, I believe. But Nintendo doesn't have the rights to that, so we're getting the Japanese Virtual Bowling. I own that too. It's fine. A Japanese game, I don't even know what it is.
Oh, is that Innsmouth no Yakuta? Whatever.
That would be how it's pronounced, yes, but I don't know what it is.
So it's based on Lovecraft, Innsmouth, being the clue there. But it's like a first-person kind of maze game, I think, with a time limit.
Sure.
That is horror themed, obviously. Very, very strange, but I guess it doesn't have that much text, so they can just do it wasn't localized. So when they showed the screen with all the box arts on, you've just got the Japanese box art for that. And, I guess it's going to be playable enough anyway. It's a, 14 games for Virtual Boy, I think is what they said. Yeah, that is a good chunk of like what would be anyone would ever really want to check out, right?
I think there's only 22.
Yeah, there's a very limited number of games in total. I know there's some more weird stuff in Japan than got out of, not just that Innsmouth game, but something Lab or something that was like just produced in a matter of weeks or something truly bizarre, because the system was very obviously just like dying in front of it, so they just got it out as fast as possible. Yeah, but generally speaking, like it's actually like there's never going to be a library on Switch Online more comprehensive.
No, not unless we get a Pokemon Mini one.
So
So Space Invaders, V Tetris, and 3D Tetris. I have 3D Tetris. I don't have V Tetris because that was Japan only, I believe. And just to be clear, in case anybody's curious, Yakata is like a manor, like a fortified castle or a mansion. Like these aren't like mansions like this is where a rich person lives. These are mansions where someone is being protected. So sure, whatever. That's the library. So all right, so we've said those are coming to Virtual Console. Now, if you didn't see the Direct, there's almost nobody listening to this who didn't see the Direct. But whatever. Let's assume this magical person exists. You're thinking, James, well, that's weird. But isn't the Virtual Boy a thing you stick your head in and it's 3D? Yes. Yes, dear listener, that is entirely what the Virtual Boy was. That was its appeal. That was the marketing muscle behind it. It is a black and white red and black wireframe 3D done through multiple lenses and multiple screens that trick your eye into believing it is seeing 3D in a darkened cage that you put your face in. That's the whole that's the whole purpose of the thing. It's to manage the focal distance to get the 3D effect right, but also to create enough darkness so that your brain can kind of process the black and red, which is not that bright, correctly. And Nintendo is solving this problem by making the games 2D, which would essentially mean just print one of the screens. Nope, not doing that. They are releasing at least in the US, $100 Virtual Boy shell compatible with the Switch 1 and Switch 2 that you may slide your Switch into and then stick your face in such that you might have the Virtual Boy experience. Rather than having multiple screens that have lenses sort of focusing them, they're using the larger screen of the Switch / Switch 2 to use the lenses to focus your eyes on them. How is this going to work with the multiple sizes of Switch? Because, we have the original Switch. I don't know if the Switch Lite is going to work or not. We have
the form factor's kind of problem there because obviously you've got the controls that either don't come off with Switch Lite, so that won't be compatible.
But you could dock a controller. I mean, you can connect a controller to it. So in theory, if you own the second
it's just the physical problem of the fact that you have got those controls sticking out, so it won't fit in the headset shell.
But the Switch 2 is so much wider than even the OLED. I don't know how it's going to fit either.
Yeah,
I see. Maybe there's an adapter, or maybe like obviously they found the physical solution to that, and then
they did.
The game, I guess like the version, like it's going to be compatible with it just by like it's going to display slightly differently on the Switch 1 and Switch 2, so that it's aligned with the lenses that you've got your eyes in front. Yeah.
It's fascinating though that they're going to have to do this.
No, well, I mean, it's all of it is bizarre. I think we'd all given up on the notion of Virtual Boy games getting acknowledged and re-released after the 3DS, a platform that had stereoscopic 3D built into it at its inception, and it was a huge part of the marketing, at least for the first iterations of the console. Obviously they kind of changed tactics a bit as it went on, the 2DS and Pokemon, and it was marketing more to younger children. It kind of phased out a bit, but they had a system that had that feature in a much more accessible, convenient way. But they did not result in any kind of re-releases or ports or adaptations of Virtual Boy games. I think it just kind of felt like the ship had sailed. And then obviously Labo VR was a thing on the original Switch. So, that concept has been there since then of like, you can do like stereoscopy with a Switch if you kind of have that kind of viewfinder thing. But the idea, that, for the 30th anniversary, they were going to announce this and do it is just barking, really. I'm amazed.
You would have to have been sick in the head to have predicted
I guess,
this.
I mean, there's a couple of things. First of all, in terms of the physical component of it, there's the cheaper cardboard option, back to Labo.
I was going to get to that. There's a cardboard, if that's too much money for you.
The cardboard viewfinder is also, like, available. But I was kind of interested, in a way, with the sort of shell for the... Like, I'm kind of surprised they haven't just done, like... Because, let's face it, there's probably a pretty small group of people who are kind of, invested enough in Nintendo history and lore and everything else to actually go along with this and play the games very much, right? And so I'm surprised they didn't just double down and say, we've got the viewfinder and the controller and sell it for even more.
Right.
Because... to be honest, the controller, you would know more about this than me, James, actually having one. But that controller is strange. And in some cases...
so weird.
In some cases, I would have thought, especially something like Red Alarm, the wireframe game and stuff, like, it is very much based around having two D-pads, right? Like, that's kind of... instead of dual stick, the way that we think of, for 3D games, dual analog stick, it was dual D-pad. That's how you navigated through, 3D space in some of these cases. So, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, Koizumi was just holding the Joy-Con in a grip. While he was looking into it. But it seems like I'm surprised they're not just like, let's really milk the enthusiasts that actually give a shit about this. And
they might
do the
announce this later because it's not coming out till February.
True. Yeah, we already mentioned we've got such a big lead.
You can buy it now if you want, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, one of the elements of this that was so kind of surprising, I guess, just as an overall, one of the elements of this whole show that was so surprising is basically anytime we have a show like this, there's going to be things that are announced and launched simultaneously.
Correct.
Right? That is always going to happen. And we had one of those that we haven't really got to yet, with the DK DLC.
Right,
But
it hasn't got that. We'll get to that. Yeah.
One of those things you would always guess would be Switch Online stuff, right? That is going to be, guess what? Smash Brothers for N64 is available now for expansion pack subscribers. Something like that, right? You just think that is safe as houses. If there's going to be anything that's among those things of instant launches, it's going to be expansion pack stuff. When in fact, the expansion pack Switch Online thing ends up being months in the future.
It's so weird.
And there was nothing else.
It's so weird.
Because isn't this the time of the year roughly when it launched years ago? And so a bunch of people are probably coming up for renewal, and their carrot this is a system that was a bomb 30 years ago that sank without a trace, and it's not even going to show up for 5 months.
Yes.
And ostensibly, you have to buy this shell, or the cardboard one anyway, to really get anything about it, because it doesn't say, as far as I could see, it doesn't say that playing it in 2D is an option.
They explicitly say it is required repeatedly. Now, is it going to detect the shell? Maybe?
You could think it's like, well, it's required for the stereoscopic element, but I mean, the way they make it is just like, you can't play this in 2D, which I would venture, like, you're really limiting any kind of longer term component with some of these. It's also Galactic Pinball. It's one of these games I could imagine, like, if I was going to look at, see how the 3D effect works in this pinball game for a while, and then God forbid I actually like it and want to keep playing it, I would play it in 2D after that, probably, because sticking my face in the bloody viewfinder is just not that casual or convenient.
All right.
So I find that part of it really kind of remarkable too.
I was howling at this point. And when they announced the cardboard version, I was fucking done. I was literally, so I was trying to do work, because this is in the middle of the work day, and I'm done. I am struggling to breathe. I am laughing so hard at the cardboard one, because it's so fucking silly. It's like, well, we can't expect everybody to afford $100 Labo fit. What if we gave them a piece of cardboard that you can also use as a Labo, or as a Virtual Boy? And they did it. They just, there's nobody at Nintendo going like, what's wrong with you? No, you can't do that. By the way, if you're asking, James, have you bought a Labo thing yet? No, I haven't, because they're not available for sale yet. Have I signed up to be emailed when the $99 Labo Virtual Boy for Nintendo Switch 2/Switch is available? Yeah. Have I signed up for when the cardboard one is also available? Yeah. Have I signed up for the Rosalina Storybook? Yeah. That one's not for me, but yeah. But am I going to buy the Virtual Boy kit?
The shell, the
shell.
headset, whatever.
Keep in mind, most of the games they announced, I already own. And I own a Virtual Boy. I am looking at them right now. The answer is still probably yes. Am I going to buy the cardboard one, you think? Well, he'll just buy the cardboard one. He doesn't need the thing. He already has it. No, dear listener. There's a real fucking chance I'm going to buy 2 of these. Because so I texted John to get his thoughts because he wouldn't be able to join us today. And I'll jump around a little bit in his comments. He mentioned Metroid Prime 4. He said the amiibos look cool. I guess if you're into that kind of thing, joking like he's not. Also, who would buy the fake Virtual Boy ? I mean, you might as well buy a cat helmet, period. He also noted, as we talked about earlier, they're finally upping their merchandise game with various books that they're releasing. I'll probably pick up the Metroid book, which we haven't mentioned yet. I'll also be picking up the Wonder Upgrade. And then my response to him was, let's be real. Between the two of us, if we count both the cardboard and plastic Virtual Boy, how many do you think get bought? I'm putting the over-under at 2.5. So for those of you who don't know how over-unders work, I'm saying between John and myself, what is the total number of Virtual Boy products getting bought? And I said even odds would be 2.5 of them, meaning not one, each of us buying one. It means one of us buying both. And his response is, the fake Virtual Boy is so stupid, I honestly thought it was a joke until they showed the console slab sliding into it. And then there's a pause. But real talk, I'll probably get it. I've never played any of those awful Virtual Boy games. And he's right. He's gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it. The only question is, do I also buy the cardboard and push us to the over at 3? And I think right now, going with the over is like, minus 110. I think you get better odds going with the under. It's so fucking stupid. I'm so happy. Like the fact that they made the cardboard Virtual Boy look like a Virtual Boy for no good reason is extremely funny to me. It's all very funny. This is so silly. And there's a picture of the Switch 2 sticking out of the cardboard one. It looks so dumb. It looks so unusable. It looks like the opposite of ergonomic. It just looks foul. And I'm so excited about it. Now, when they showed the Switch versus Switch 2, or the OLED versus Switch 2 in the Virtual Boy plastic shell, the only way they showed the difference was they showed different disembodied hands holding different controllers because the console's fully enclosed. Actually, you can kind of see it sticking out of the bottom. The Switch 2 one sticks out further. But they're releasing Experience Virtual Boy with this add-on accessory that is a replica of the original hardware. Simply insert your Nintendo Switch TM2 or Nintendo Switch TM system, each sold separately, as if they're going to sell you both, into the accessory, and get ready to play classic Virtual Boy titles such as Teleroboxer and Galactic Pinball. This product can only be purchased who have paid Nintendo Switch Online membership. Greg, you mentioned, because they gave away 3 free months at one point if you had Twitch, if you had Amazon Plus, or whatever, Amazon Prime, which I did get. I am up for renewal this month. I am strongly considering bumping to expansion pack. After years of going, no, I'm not doing that. Not the GameCube, not the N64. It's the fucking Virtual Boy that might get me, because this is too goddamn stupid.
It is kind of, there's an element of it. Like I said, I've never played any Virtual Boy games, so there's that for me. And
because it never came out in Europe.
Well, no, and I mean, don't forget the context of when it came out in 95. Like the N64 was meant to come out in 95, so I was gearing up for like, we're going to import the N64. You know what I mean? So like the idea of like, let's just splurge, or what would have been a massive expense to import the Virtual Boy was absolutely off the table. It could have been a roaring success. It wasn't happening for me, so it just wasn't even something to consider. But there's something you kind of wonder about, the nature of it. I'm sure the fidelity of it relative to actually like having that very weird like array of
Yeah.
like, you know, kind of like it's not going to be that close, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, it will be stereoscopic, but it's not going to be that analogous to sticking your face in that thing with all the bloody radiation shielding and everything that's in there, you know?
It's so
just
weird.
You can't get quite that, you know, kind of, but it's almost, it's something between, you know, a new incentive in a subscription plan and the mini consoles that they used to sell.
It is.
Isn't it? You know, like they're selling you a physical object, and it's just like the actual game part of it is being delivered through a subscription plan.
It kind of sucks that you can't just get like a download code for the games and like, okay,
they
you're
just
done.
don't do that anymore. They just don't do it anymore. It just, I mean, I get what you're saying. Nintendo has just decided that they are not going to be in the business of releasing their games, classics like that, and I assume it's still, I mean, they talked about it a while ago that like the Virtual Boy, people just didn't buy those games, and this makes more sense for us. I get it, but it's still very, like, it should come. Here's how I would have handled it. I would have had it come with a 3-month pass for expansion pack. Like, you buy it, you get a 3-month gift card for expansion pack that if you already own, or if you already have the base membership, maybe it's 5 months, because that'd roughly be the math difference. Or if you already have expansion pack, it just tacks on to the end of your subscription. Like something to kind of take the edge off that, to be like, yeah, but here's 3 months of it. You can have that. Because you know how much it costs them to give you expansion pack? Do you want to make a guess? It starts with Z and ends with Eero. There is effectively no net cost for Nintendo on this. There might be a slight net cost when it comes to like licensed games, I guess, but like
the Genesis.
Yeah, relatively speaking, it's almost certainly next to nothing. So like doing that would have been a nicer thing for them to have done. Now what's interesting is it's limited to Nintendo Switch Online for purchase. It is not limited to Nintendo Switch Online with expansion pack. So you can buy this. I think in Australia it's already for sale, even if you don't have expansion pack. Part of me thinks that would be the funniest outcome, to buy this, and then when I talk about it on the show, I can't use it because I don't have any expansion. I don't have expansion pack, but I do own it. But people are going to walk in. They're going to see my game shelf because it's visible from the front door. And they're going to see what appear to be 2 Virtual Boys. They are going to have immense questions. And I won't be able to answer them. And that is, I guess, you know,
it might somewhat increase the plausibility of people ever actually playing multiplayer Virtual Boy. Because,
that's true.
You know, that was always going to be like, edge case doesn't even really begin to describe it. You know? But of course, now that you could do it with the Switch Online, as you know, all the platforms have that online multiplayer, you could actually do, you know, some Virtual Boy multiplayer. So yeah, Marius Tennis, I presume, had it, right?
I don't know. I want to say that
I don't even know.
So they sold.
What was the story there? Like, was there a cable that they?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a
Did
port,
they ever release it or no?
I think they did. There's a port on the bottom of the Virtual Boy headset that looks a little bit like the NES controller port. It's not. It's more. It's even shaped on both sides. It's a mirror image, but similar kind of structure. And you plug the cable into each side. I think they released it. I don't know what games support virtual. Like, I mean, Google's at my.
Yeah, I'm sure Mario Clash, right? I mean, it's got.
Yeah, it's got to be. That thing serves. They did release it. Yes. That thing serves no purpose unless it. Like that game serves no purpose without it. The Virtual Boy Link cable. Yes, and in fact, you could buy reproduction ones, which is. Gotta be one of the weirdest fucking products that you could buy. Like, if you buy that, you're already coming into somewhere. You can buy replacement lenses for your Virtual Boy as well.
I'm reading like an old Vice article from 2017, and they're saying that the Virtual Boy never got a multiplayer mode, despite Mario Tennis being one of its few notable games. That is until last week when a modder released a 2-player patch for Mario Tennis.
Oh, well, there you go. I guess it was, maybe they just had the plans, for future games that would take advantage of that cable. But then, as we said, it was so ridiculously short-lived that it never actually happened. So it seems like an even more peculiar choice for putting this platform on Switch Online, I've got to say, because, unless they are, this doesn't seem plausible to me because it's not really what the platform's about, unless they are patching in some sort of multiplayer, some of these things, but I really don't imagine that.
I mean, technically speaking, even the single player games on Switch Online have multiplayer in that somebody can join your session and watch. What if you could just join and watch someone else's Virtual Boy session?
That's the big thing. Oh, yeah. No, it's...
So Waterworld and Funky Bowling both claim that they're multiplayer, but they only support one player. Claim on the box.
It's like turn-based, though, with bowling, right? So it'd just be, somebody, at golf, for instance, again, you could just, somebody else, kind of puts their face in the thing afterwards.
I think the mode just got cut because Nintendo wasn't supporting it. So the link cables, the reason they're available is there are a bunch of fan-made Virtual Boy games that do support multiplayer.
Right.
What if Nintendo released a new Virtual Boy game? That'd be so fucked up.
Somebody did a homebrew Street Fighter 2 port or something, I think. Yeah. So yeah, definitely stuff did happen, in the hobbyist kind of scene.
I have strongly considered buying a Virtual Boy flash cart for some of these projects. Because that is a thing you can buy. It is expensive as shit, but you can buy it. It's wow, this is so weird. I don't understand why they put this in the middle of the Direct. Because like the next 5 segments, I just completely was like,
you can't really process it the same again because the whole thing is made you doubt your grasp of reality and,
which is
and everything else.
Because the next thing was a fucking Fatal Frame Crimson Butterfly.
Yeah, which I think that was one that got remade to a degree on Wii.
Correct.
When Nintendo were financing a bunch of Fatal Frame projects in that generation. Obviously you had Fatal Frame 4, which was exclusive to Japan.
Yes.
And then I think the Fatal Frame 2 one did get to Europe, but not the US, I believe.
Yeah. It's... yeah, so that was quick. That's coming out I want to say that comes out early 2026. Then we hit Sizzle Reel. These are games that are getting Switch 2 upgrades. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, that's your second Musou game. Overcooked 2 is getting a Switch 2 mode with what it refers to as camera play. Those are the faces over the...
Camera play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen saw that and she was like, nope. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Stardew is getting a Switch 2 edition with mouse controls and 4-player local split screen and game share to other 2 Switch consoles. Human Fall Flat, which I'm dumbfounded is still in development, is getting a Switch 2 edition with new levels and mouse controls. And Power Wash Simulator 2 is coming to Switch 2 with mouse controls. But this is actually a full
game share, I believe, or at the very least a split screen.
Yeah, the split screen. This was a full demo because that's a new game, so that's coming out in fall. I did want to touch on an email real quick. I had to get us out of the Virtual Boy. I had to give us some air, so now I can go back to the email. AG writes, "Gentlemen, I've come to you with a simple question. Is Nintendo reviving the Virtual Boy on Switch the most batshit insane thing they have done? The yays, not on their 3D handheld. Asks you to buy an empty shell of Virtual Boy. Or some unused Labo parts. It is possible these are just, Labo parts they didn't sell. And released within the first year of the new Prime platform I switched to. The nays, local video chat on Star Fox 64 3D. Bob Hoskins is Mario. Owning the Mariners. Yours, AG." No. Is it close? Yeah. Is it in the conversation? Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to.
I mean, owning a sports team. I mean, they appreciated a lot before they dispensed.
The reason they did it is very funny. So for those of you who aren't aware, Nintendo bought the Mariners at the height of the Japan's taking over the world panic. Because they were in Seattle for their Redmond specifically for their U.S. office, which is a Seattle suburb. And the Mariners ownership was basically trying to get out of the team because the team had financial difficulty. And the Mariners were terrible. This would not be a thing that changed very much. If they were good, they would then be met with horrible curse-like failure. But they were bad.
That one really good regular season, didn't they?
Like 110 wins, and then they flamed the fuck out.
Well, it happens quite a lot, to be fair.
I want to say they got swept by the Yankees. It's just bad. Baseball playoffs are the worst. They're the worst. There's no sport that has playoffs worse than the baseball playoffs. Hockey
it's
might
just
be
such
close.
a tiny, especially the 5-game series. It's such a tiny fraction of the. Why do we play all these games to then
get eliminated?
It's not flipping a coin, obviously, but it almost feels like it relatively. It's like, but of course, it's didn't used to be that way. It just used to be we'll just have literally the winner of the American League and the National League, and that's it in the World Series. Right. And then there was just the winners of the 2 divisions. They were, in each league, and they played the championship series. And then that was, so it didn't used to be that way, but that's got to keep up with monetizing more of your product, basically, and creating postseason games that people, are high stakes and people want to watch.
Yeah. So this was early in Nintendo's run in the US, and they were part of this fear of Japanese companies taking over the world. And so when the Mariners couldn't find an ownership group to buy them, were in financial difficulty, and were potentially at risk of moving out of Seattle altogether, Nintendo was approached because they had deep pockets at this point. They were successful. And Seattle wasn't what it is now. Microsoft wasn't a $1 trillion company. Starbucks wasn't there. Not that saved the fucking Supersonics. In fact, it was the Starbucks ownership. There are a bunch of companies that now are in Seattle that could have been the money for that, but simply weren't. And Nintendo, in an effort to sort of burnish their image as a valuable member of the American business community and not some terrifying foreign presence ne'er-do-wells.
So that has roots in the area rather than just, taking it for what it's worth or whatever.
Just threw some spare money to buy a fucking Major League Baseball team. Just for PR mostly. And then, to Greg's point, sold it for an absolute $1 gazillion because of the appreciation.
Enormous appreciation, exactly. And so, couldn't hardly be described as any kind of business faux pas. If one was trying to get the weirdest aspect of it, it'd be something that James has remarked upon many times over the years, which is the notion that Yamauchi bought it and then never came to see them in person. That is the craziest part of it. If we're going to even attempt to compete with this Virtual Boy batshittery, I think it would have to be that.
Yes, that this man, I don't know that he ever left Japan ever. Like, he may have spent his entire life never leaving that country. He's been dead for a long time. A lunatic. Now, it was a family business, and he ran it like a family business, including hiring his son-in-law to run what was becoming their most important market. Because reasons? Because it's a family business.
That was his side of the street, as it were, wasn't it? Minoru Arakawa, right?
Yeah.
That's just like that was his job, was to look after the American affairs.
He had spent some time in America in the past, so he's in charge. Have fun. And he's married to my daughter. Those were his career value criteria, which makes the hiring of Iwata extra crazy. Because it seems like the most anti-Yamauchi pick, and yet he is.
No. It was that certainly seemed that way at the time. Of just like, good lord, this is someone who knows the development of games,
right,
through and through. Like just absolute, in furthest in the weeds one could possibly be. Compared with, the massive, bird's eye view type stuff of Yamauchi and his son-in-law. It couldn't have felt more different at the time.
And pressingly, he wasn't married to any of Yamauchi's children. It was because again, Arakawa got the job because he was the husband of Yamauchi's daughter. That's the family business part of it. Yamauchi was not the first Yamauchi to run that company. He was the third. Now we didn't appreciate at the time that Iwata had been running HAL as effectively as its executive, and HAL's office being in Nintendo's office, they would have spent time together. So that's probably more how it happened. But again, it was a personal connection thing still. But yeah, that's up there. I mean, this is still up there. Like the Pokewalker thing, not the Pokewalker thing, the Pokemon Go announcement was up there. Like how that all came out, how that all came together. That was very strange. And then Nintendo wanting to make sure we knew they were involved, so we got the Pokemon Go Plus. The thing that effectively serves no purpose in the equation, but Nintendo wanted to make sure they were on the goddamn stage at the same time. So there was a device. But then the device missed the launch of the game.
No, they didn't have it for
the popularity window of the game.
No, bonkers.
Absolute fuck up. It's tremendous, ultra fuck up. Just unfathomable, unprecedented. This is up there. I mean, it really is. It's really odd. It's really nonsensical. There's some.
I mean, you got to think, like, what I don't know about something like this is how much of your development resources that you've got allocated to the Switch Online Classics initiative, right? What's the real opportunity cost of this?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, what are we not doing because they're doing this, right? And how much more likely would that be, that other stuff they could be doing, to actually bring people in or keep people in the expansion pack tier, however you want to look at it. And I still have a hard time understanding how that time and money couldn't be better spent elsewhere. I can't. I don't know exactly what it would be, but you just kind of feel like, with something like this, is it really just a case of like almost you're just selling that physical object for a profit and everything else is by the by? You know what I mean? I mean, they've got all the data in the world at this point on what people actually play on that service, you know? It's like, do they play the games that they've probably already played in the past and they're just replaying them? Do they play the games that they know by name because they're famous, they're in famous series, they had some sort of reputation? Or do they actually venture into the more obscure corners and play those things? And that has some sort of bearing on whether they continue to use the service. I mean, they have answers about stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's self-reports. Like, unlike Virtual Console, where the only thing they knew is that you bought it. These self-report. These constantly self-report. I played Nobunaga's Ambition 2 the other day. Was this a good idea? Not in the slightest, but I did do it. Yeah, so I don't know that it's the weirdest thing they've ever done. It's up there, but I guess it's just, it's how you contextualize some of this stuff. It's going in a pretty short list of things that should be considered for that. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. The Pokemon Minis up there. Like, that's a truly bizarre. We're going to release a very tiny handheld with very tiny cartridges at the behest of the Pokemon Company so they can release very small games. And then
I don't disagree with you, but the one thing I will always say about stuff like that is any weird decision that comes out of something that's like, it's because it's burning white hot.
Yes.
It's because something is just crazy popular and you're just like, oh, let's try this as some other way of further monetizing this craze, this fad, whatever you think is a phenomenon. I'm much more understanding of that than, stuff where it's like, okay, how do we parlay some famous failure into something like that? That is a lot more peculiar, I think, just straight off the bat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. I get that it happened. But this is we've talked about it. There should be an accountant in the room going, what the fuck? No, you can't do that. I'm not going to allow you to do that. That's not.
And again, if it's predicated more on the fact that we're going to sell this physical thing and that's going to make money, and what effect it has on people actually signing up to the expansion pack tier or staying in the expansion pack tier, how much anybody actually plays the thing is pretty much irrelevant, right? That it's just like just a kind of a shell to get people to buy this physical thing. The conditions for that are pretty fucking lousy right now, aren't they? Selling this kind of physical stuff internationally sucks.
But I mean,
it just that extra layer of improbability of it, or if it needed another one.
I guess there's also the prospect of they're running out of things they can sell. Like they're running out of new games to put on it. So it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna do this. I don't know.
Still, I mean, we talked about it already. I mean, they had like perfectly kind of sensible, like functional Wii emulation on Switch.
Yeah.
With the Galaxy part of the 3D All Stars, the Pikmin. That's an incredibly popular system from, almost 20 years ago that's got plenty of games on it that, some of them have been re-released already and all this, that and the other. But I mean, it's, there's certainly corners of their classic libraries that they've, kind of mined, to close to exhaustion or something, but they're not out of options. This is just, it's fascinating, isn't it, really? But, what I like about it in a weird way is just the idea that, when the next time a Nintendo Direct rolls around, it will increase that feeling that you could see fucking well anything in it.
Right.
It raises the stakes of like, you don't know what's going to be in this. Because you thought you knew what might be in the last one, and then they drop Virtual Boy on your face. So you don't know. The madman theory of Nintendo Directs. You don't know what they're going to do from this point on.
We got this warning last year with the Alarmo right around this time of no, we will do anything. Like you will not predict us. We have the Switch. We will pull it. And they have decided today is the crazy day Switch. We're going to pull that Switch. And here it is. Have fun. I'm thrilled with this. And I don't think it's weird. I think it's beautiful. I do think there's been a lot of people going, why wasn't this on 3DS? They did 3D differently. I know there have been homebrews to do it, but you have to remember how Nintendo thinks about these things. They probably wouldn't have been happy with how that worked. They wanted to do it as authentically as they could. If you remember, 3D on 3DS looked like it felt like you were looking in. Virtual Boy in 3D does not. It feels more like it's coming out, like we normally think of 3D. So that it would have been different. Yes, I know they had it working. I know there are homebrew things that did it. But there's the barrier between what Homebrew is willing to do and what Nintendo is willing to do. We've seen before. There is a gap. We know about this gap. We have seen this gap repeatedly. I think they very much, it fell into that. But also, the fact that we talked about this, the fact that they're not selling this game, the fact that it's part of a package, I think they're more willing to put weird shit out like this. So there it goes. That's where we get it.
Let's move on.
Yep. Back to the Direct. What were we up to after that? Let's see. After Power Wash 2 Simulator,
we got the Suika game.
We got a Suika game sequel coming out.
Oh, it looks cute.
It does look cute. I mean, it's Suika game.
Yeah,
it got
Karen's attention, and it's got game share. It's maybe
Super
like it's a
Evolution.
slightly more interesting concept than the original. Like I feel like the original was maybe kind of underbaked a little bit.
It was a small game that was sold on like on the original Switch around its launch time. It just blew up because VTubers found it.
Right.
Like 5 years later.
So this one is like kind of co-op, 4-player co-op. It seems like I don't know. It seems like something I could be into.
It's Tempest Suika, too, because you're going around a circle. They call it Planet, but it's fucking Tempest. It's Tempest.
Right.
It's Tempest in Suika form.
It's still very much physics-based, but it's unclear from watching this how the physics work, like why stuff ends up in the middle of the bubble and why the bubble doesn't stop when, like, you can see that, like, you can go over the edge of the bubble, like it will stretch. So
yeah.
How do you know that it won't burst? Like
I mean, they could... In the original game, they could actually go over the top of the thing. It was just when physics forced them to fall over the side. So maybe there's like a tension on the bubble, and then eventually you can break through it, and that's it.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Looks fun.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Next up was the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, which starts out with Samus on a fucking motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody gets a motorcycle.
Yeah, if I have one criticism for this is that I strongly feel that Samus should have rolled into a ball and become that motorcycle's front wheel. Like, you basically, like, the memes, like, would Samus wear pants like this or this? Like, would she ride a motorcycle like this or like this? Like, actually ride it like a person? Right. Or
so it kind of plugs like the arm cannon into it, right? You know, so it's, rather than that, I'll just be the front wheel and we'll go from there. But yeah, lots of, I guess we kind of know why her suit has like a kind of a stronger red component in it, because it's going to be doing a bunch of Akira slides on that bike, so you're just gonna have to reference the color.
This is the Viola, which is the name of the bike. They announced this on the Amiibo. It's also in the Nintendo Today app, and there's their companion Viola suit. We got a date 12/4/2025. We didn't get a lot of gameplay content stuff besides the bike. The weird thing is, it's a pretty short trailer. I would have expected them to talk about the bike when they showed the bike after not mentioning the bike for all of the previous, but no, they just kind of show it and they're like, all right, moving on.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because sometimes, I mean, look, some of it's like played for laughs, but it's like, yeah, when we come back to, you know, after a trailer for Tomodachi Life and then say, yes, we saw some breaking news in that, like, that is, dare I say it, redundant. Whereas, like, we just showed a bike and big expansive environments for the first time.
Neither of which have ever been in a Metroid game.
Yeah, before, it's kind of like, that might require some contextualization that, you know, the hijinks of Tomodachi Life.
Yeah, you're just not gonna get with this. Like, the Viola thing, yeah, sure. Like, you're gonna have to go in the Nintendo Today app, apparently, or you're gonna have to read the box of the Amiibo that they show during the trailer. If you don't stop and pause and read the packaging of the Amiibo, you have no idea that this bike has a name.
I can't believe it's 3 Amiibo. 3. We've got like Samus by herself in a fairly conventional kind of Varia suit kind of look, and then we've got the one with the bike, and then we've got Silux as well,
which comes out a month later.
That is really quite strange. Just I've already mentioned it. One of the themes of it, just the amount of physical stuff. Amiibo being obviously the big part of that, with the fancy new Kirby ones and these ones now for Metroid. You know, which is a bit of a interested. I mean, there's been Metroid Amiibo before, but you know, like you wonder like whether the market for it is that compatible, but here we go. And yeah, they had this sort of thing about like that art book I think you already mentioned, James, like the sort of countdown to launch, I think they described it.
The journey to launch begins is how they phrased it.
That was the end of October, right? So
yeah, that's October 28th.
Perhaps a dedicated direct, is on the horizon there, you know, as part of that journey that will shed more light on, you know, some of these aspects of the game and contextualize them a bit more.
We'll definitely get a Metroid Prime 4 direct.
It definitely was.
The second Kirby Riders direct. We'll get a Prime 4 direct.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, bloody hell, that's the thing. I've cleared my calendar for the next like 6 months or whatever until until the game comes out in December anyway, because you never know when it's going to happen and how much time you're going to need to watch it. No, I mean, with the Metroid one, it could use with it, I think, as we've mentioned before, in terms of just the Prime series, it has been an awfully long time since that last one came out.
20 years.
So context required, not just for, why there's a bike and more expansive environments than, we've seen in the previous games, but also, just what it is in general would probably be wise if you're trying to try and maximize its commercial potential. But I guess it put to bed the idea that, would it miss 25 because it's kind of gone on longer than I think we imagined, right? At the beginning of the year, would we have said that it would have run all the way up to December when it was like a Switch 1 game? A lot of people were wondering, would it be a launch day game, like Breath of the Wild, a dual platform?
Or November, maybe.
But yeah, all the way to December is kind of a surprise, that it's taken that long, but ultimately they're fulfilling, that slot that it had on the release schedule for a long time of just 25, and they're going to make it seemingly, and that now I've talked about it before. It's starting to feel that little bit more real. That it is a definite number of kind of days away. We've seen a little bit more about what might actually distinguish it from its previous games in the sub-series, as well as the similarities that it has. And you've got all this other stuff like Amiibo and art books and whatever. Like it's happening, and it is not that far away.
Yeah. So the first date we got at the end of the trailer was 12/4/2025. That's the launch date of the game. Then we got the Journey to Launch Begins logo, the Metroid Prime 1 through 3 visual retrospective. That's 10/28/25. Then we get the Amiibo screen that shows the Samus Metroid Prime 4 and Samus and Viola Amiibo 11/6, so a month out from the launch. And then, or about a week after the book. Then we get another Amiibo materializes, fucking Psylux, which is just the nothingest of character. I mean, I know they're doing something with him now, but like up until this point, this is deep Star Wars, like, who the fuck is Ma Brabuva kind of bullshit. Like, this is one of the many fuckers you meet in Metroid Prime 3, and it was also in Hunters.
I think he was only in Hunters, actually. He's even less. I think he's even less of a character than you're imagining.
Was he not one of the Hunters you meet in 3?
I don't think so, because all of those guys like became your antagonists, right? Your bosses, yeah. And I think one of them was called Gore, and one of the Gandrada, the kind of like
woman.
Feminine one, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Psylux was one of them. But okay. I will. It's been a very long time since I played Prime 3, so
I think he made an appearance in Federation.
It was in the
Force.
ending. That's what it was. He was in if you do it 100%, like his ship showed up so he was in it technically. Yes. But he was not one of the crew that we were talking about.
I remembered him, but I couldn't remember why. Okay, so so he's coming 12/4 at the launch date of the game. So they literally are putting together a content plan for this thing to lead up to its launch. Somewhere in there, we will find a direct, I'm certain. But again, they didn't give us a lot. They gave us a bike, didn't tell us about it. I do think, the read that we have from the open area, and I think we all kind of reached this conclusion separately, is that Samus is going to explore an open world and then go into self-contained, more Metroid-y areas. We didn't see that because they didn't show that. No, again, that's kind of the feel.
Anything we're saying is very speculative because, as we said, they didn't provide context for this. But I was kind of looking at it thinking, imagining that it could function as like a hub. Right. You know, and so wouldn't necessarily be truly open in the sense that presumably the sort of, areas that fork off from that hub, you're going to unlock when you get Metroid, the absolute fundamental essence of Metroid. You get new power-ups that let you overcome different barriers, and then you can go different places from that hub. But, it is definitely an expanse, an extensive kind of space that you haven't seen in a Metroid Prime game before. The Metroid Prime games, it might have the odd area that kind of try and give you a sense of being, you know, in a more open space, but ultimately design wise, you know, it was quite faithful to, you know, the games in 2D, right? That you're more in these like enclosed corridor type spaces, you know, and you know, a lot of it's about what the hardware, you know, the GameCube and Wii, which was, you know, obviously very similar to a GameCube, what it could handle at the time. Right. And so the title Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, the little hint that they gave in the earlier trailer where you kind of saw the great world tree looking thing and all that, like it already teased the notion that we were going to get some of these more expansive areas, things that went beyond literally the kind of exploration we had before. Yes. So it's not completely out of the blue in that regard, but I guess, you know, to be fair, it is logical that if that's going to happen, you do need a faster form of locomotion for the character, because Metroid Prime has always been very plodding, somewhat at odds with the 2D games, which where like, especially stuff like Zero Mission, like you are tearing through that world at high speed.
And you go faster as you go.
Yeah, whereas like, you know, the Metroid Prime, very deliberate games. So then if you're going to say, well, we're going to, you know, vastly increase the kind of, the nature of the world to make it this huge space, well then, you know, you can't be doing that on foot that way. Even like with fast travel to massage it, like it does make sense that something would have had to happen. You might have thought it might be like a speed boost type thing because they hadn't done that in the Prime games before exactly. But, it's the bike that we're getting.
Yeah. And, the speculation on top of that speculation now at this point. I actually like this idea for making the Metroid games more approachable to people who don't necessarily engage with them. Somebody was complaining in our Discord, like, I hope they find a way to make up for the more linear parts of Metroid Prime 3. And my response was, I loved the more linear parts of Metroid Prime 3. It was the first Prime game I was able to truly finish because I wasn't having to try to remember where stuff was. And like, it gave me a real sense of locomotion, of keeping going in this direction, and you will eventually figure out what you need to do. It made that game feel more approachable. You could make it less linear, but make it also less of an exercise in having to remember, like, I go to this side of the world, I go to that side of the world, I go to that side of the world, this side of the world. By introducing new capabilities inside one of these self-contained areas and building it around that capability, almost in a Zelda style, and then using it to unlock the next area, again, in a Zelda style way, but not making a player remember, like, I picked up this power-up, I have to go back to the beginning of the game or wherever else to get to the thing I want to do. Like, you're able to sort of compartmentalize components of the game and let player in a much more like Zelda style exploration, but still making Metroid style areas, if that makes sense. Like the
well,
area.
I guess maybe that it'd be easier if it's just to remember like how the area, you know, the way that all the areas connect to that hub types, environment, if that's what it is, rather than how they connect to each other. You know, because that's where it can get kind of a bit tricky navigating Metroid games sometimes, especially when it is slower, as it was in, you know, the Metroid Prime games. Because you know, if you take a wrong turn or you remember something incorrectly, there's a greater sort of penalty associated with it, essentially. Especially when you get these like asymmetric things, right, where it's like, well, you can get to that place from here in one direction, but you can't actually come back that way. That's often how it tends to work a lot of the time, you know, especially earlier in the game. Later in the game, they might say, oh, well, actually now that you've got like super missiles, you can go in both directions. Like, cause, you know, it's kind of, you know, that is very much part of the sequencing and the essence of, feeling like you just get more mastery over the environment, right? But, you know, it's easier to get kind of tangled up and not be sure, you know, how, if I just want to go roughly from here to here, how do I actually do that? If you've got like a hub and these things kind of just fork off from it, then it's a lot easier to just remember how everything connects to that one place that everything connects to, rather than, you know, I think it was a little bit similar with how they handled the Metroid 2 remake as Samus Returns in terms of it was more of like a sequence of miniature Metroids than it was actually one Metroid world. It was basically like you went, once you got to a new the scenario of the game is you're just going deeper and deeper beneath the surface of the Metroid's homeworld. And, each layer that you're in is basically like, look, there won't be anything really from a different layer that you need to sort of solve this one. Right? It's just like, there will be things like extra pickups and stuff that you could go back and get with a power that you get from a subsequent layer, but it's basically everything you need to solve that particular one is there. It's self-contained. And then once you move on to the next one, then everything you need to solve that is self-contained there. And so it could be like that, but rather than in a linear descending into the surface of the planet, it's, forking off from this bigger space kind of thing. But like I said, that's my speculation about how it will work. We'll have to see. But, it's definitely, so I did talk about the hints at like beyond and bigger exploration, but also a lot of what we'd seen to this point was kind of look, it really is a Metroid Prime game. Here's scanning. Here's, all the stuff that you associated with it. So this was a significant moment where it's like, okay, we're
Here's
just going to
stuff.
Yeah, we're going to drop like the more distinguishing features.
The other idea of compartmentalizing is you always know where progress is. Progress is in this zone. Like don't go out exploring for progress somewhere else. It's here. Maybe you can't find it, but it's in this block.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's actually really liberating as a player who struggles to be like, oh God, do I need to go further
just like
afield?
Don't overthink it, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like I said, they've done it even in like there's that part in Super Metroid where it's like you're kind of trapped somewhere until you realize you can freeze the enemies and use them as stepping stones to get out. Like but the problem with that is it's not as like obvious, right? Especially because the genre was much younger back then.
It's not as telegraphed.
It's kind of like did I not bring something down here beforehand that I should have done? Or, but really, I think that what it was meant to be conveying to the player is like, look, what you need to escape this must be here. You know what I mean? So just think about that. Just don't overcomplicate it, but yeah, obviously, like with Samus Returns, it's kind of much more baked in and explicit, that reality.
Guillaume, do you have any thoughts here? No, I think we covered it. I guess, I don't know. I just played through Shinobi, which kind of colors my opinion a little bit, but that's kind of like an almost like Metroid-like game that managed to not be Metroid-like at all, and like the probably the differences are too big to make a comparison because it's different a 2D game and then a game like Metroid Prime 4, which aims to not have levels or not have, to be kind of cohesive and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I don't know, like in Shinobi, you just move, like you can switch from one level to the next. You can like warp to any previous checkpoint anytime you want. And sometimes I feel like the solution would be for that in a Metroid game to do that, to just like be able to warp wherever you want to be.
Rather than having to get to a warp point to use it.
Yeah, but it kind of clashes with the type of atmosphere that Metroid wants to have, right? So, yeah, I don't know. They're trying new stuff. I guess the bike is interesting, and it's different from the cannons that were in Metroid Prime 2, which I don't even remember if they warped you from one place to the other, but they were a mode of locomotion that if you want to have discrete levels, like that could have been a thing. Samus needs to get from one biome to another completely different one. Just shoot yourself out of a cannon. You've done it before. I don't know. I'm rambling. The fact is, like, I'm going to be playing this probably as soon as it releases. We've been waiting for it long enough, and it doesn't really matter to me all that much, like what solution they found in terms of game design to satisfy the hardcore, the people, the newcomers who might not want to hit their head over like a kind of a puzzle before figuring it out and being able to progress. So I don't know. Like, well, the proof will be in the playing, I think. Sorry, I'm rambling. It's late. I think we should kind of zoom through the rest of this.
I'm working on it. I just want this. This was the big game, so we had to spend a little more time on it.
It was one of the big things. This was one of the kind of known things of like, okay, this is on the schedule. Surely they've got to talk about it. And they did. And we had the date, but other than that, they kind of kept it relatively low profile and really teasing more in the future. So, you can't really talk too much about it now.
All right, let's move on to the next thing, which was DLC for Donkey Kong, which...
That's early, huh?
It is, because when you consider that Mario getting DLC 3 years later, this is getting it 3 months later.
Yeah, it's straight 2 months, right?
Thereabouts. This is DK Island and Emerald Rush.
It's an interesting evolution, isn't it? You think about it, it was a bit over 10 years ago when they first sort of countenanced the idea of doing DLC. Previously it's like, we do complete games. We when you buy a Nintendo game in the box, you should know that it has everything in it. It can possibly be improved by having anything else added to it.
And then it was like tiny stuff in Fire Emblem games. Like, do you want a stage just for grinding for money? You can buy that.
No, so eventually they budged, very much in the presence of the 3DS's struggles and the Wii U's, real problems. Certainly would have prodded them again into like, okay, we need to monetize what we can. We need to leverage everything we can and get every bit of revenue out of this thing or these things that we've got going. But, they still tried to have some, limitations, some things that they wanted to preserve the notion of like, look, this stuff is additional, right? We are not just skimming stuff up off the top and, we develop a complete game, we sell it to you, and then we may develop some add-on content later on. This is, along with, and I guess it's a little bit different because it's Pokemon, but Pokemon, they're literally
one is a lot different.
They're already talking about selling you that before the game comes out.
You can pre-order it.
Yeah, so
before you even know what it is.
Yes, that is basically. I think this is just the sort of confirmation of just how much more relaxed they are these days about the fact of like, DLC, additional stuff. It's a thing. We're going to use it to our advantage, and we are not going to be handcuffing ourselves, worrying about the timing and the sequencing of it, even if it might be a bit of a kind of point of contention with some people, I would imagine. But with DK in particular, I think, there's a bit of a surprise in the sense that, we had Mario Kart World as well. And I think a lot of people would have thought, it's the Mario anniversary. Mario Kart World, has been out there for longer than DK. Surely that is up in the pecking order in terms of getting additional content, even if it might be something quite minor at this time, cosmetics, little stuff as a kind of, appetizer for something more substantial down the road. That's certainly an approach that they've done before with Splatoon, for instance, where you talk about, when there's, if you buy it now, you can change the plaza. The actual stuff is months away, but they've done that. With DK, to be getting something that is, playable right now, and when the game came out 2 months ago and did not feel... It's like we both played it to exhaustion, haven't we, James? And talked about it on the spoiler cast. It was like, I didn't feel like that game was lacking for anything, really. It felt like it explored its ideas very fully and was very satisfying. But, speaking of Splatoon here, what we've got is something that feels like it's quite informed by, like, extra Splatoon modes, because first of all, we've got the thing of, like, Voidco kind of, like, very demandingly, like, kind of asking you to, like, rack up some sort of score, which is, rather like Salmon Run and Quizco.
You literally become their employee. You've got your employee card, your employee number 7650, and your current job title, Banana Associate.
Yeah, so I've been playing this a lot since it came out today, and... Yeah, you get, as you go through and you earn points, you get promotions. I think I'm Banana Manager right now.
Nice.
I like it.
So like one of the first few things you unlock is like basically like your employee badge, like costume. Like
the tie is replaced with a badge and a lanyard. It's so stupid. There's a so I don't have all the CDs anymore because this DLC added 7 CDs and I only know how to get one of them and I'm very mad about it.
Oh, boogers.
It added the island. There's no bananas or fossils on the islands. There's nothing to find there. But when you play that's the first place you can do the Emerald Rush mode. And there are bananas and things on it when you do Emerald Rush because that's how those give you stat power-ups. And we'll talk about this real quick because I'll do new business on it next week and give a real big deep dive on it. But it's $20. Essentially, you start every instance of Emerald Rush as DK right when you started the game. That is the state of his character. Depending on what kind of like Sakurai's games where you can set the difficulty level, you can pick between 1 and 3. I guess as you unlock more, you can pick higher starting difficulties. Right. If you go to 3 or beyond, you don't have the bonanza modes. You have to find them as well. But if 1 and 2, you have the bonanzas. And so that actually makes a huge difference in how hard between 2 and 3 is. But the power-ups are spread across the map. So these are the various upgrades DK can get. You also get upgrades anytime you find fossils, and you'll get a choice of 3 different ones you can pick from. It randomly picks them from a list. As you level up your character, which you do by making more and more runs and collecting emeralds, which replaces all the gold, you get more of the upgrades become available to show up randomly. So there are upgrades you can find because they're on the map and you can actually see them on the map. This includes the bonanza modes if you didn't start with them. And then there are upgrades that you can get from finding fossils, or sometimes you just get them because you hit certain thresholds. As the bar you have to hit for emerald go higher and higher. Like the first one will be like, you need to find 80 before this 90-second timer runs out. And the last one might be, you need to have 5,000. Now, any that you didn't spend, so like if it's 80 in the first round and you collect 500 in the 90 seconds, it just deducts the 80 you have, and the 420 you have behind goes immediately towards the next target. So essentially, you're just trying to get to the end, which is 10 rounds, with an ever-increasing difficulty. But as you're finding these upgrades and picking them from the lists, a lot of them are multiplier effects. So like I just cleared the 4th area you unlock at level 10, and I cleared it by the skin of my teeth because, Greg, you remember those terrains that will turn into clumps of very little monsters that don't do damage but they swarm?
Oh, yeah.
I had a times 180 emerald multiplier for every enemy I killed. And
that's a bunch of unique enemies to kill.
It's like 50 of them, and I just rolled through them surfing on a rock. And I got like 6,000 emeralds in about 4 seconds and just squeaked under the time. I was like, fuck you too, I win. So I've unlocked 4 areas. It's not in the sequence order of the game, which is interesting. I assume as I get deeper in, I'll unlock higher starting difficulties. I've struggled with difficulty 3 because not having the bonanza modes really makes it hard to explore to get to the power-ups. And as you run through it, you'll also get challenges from Void who are like, hey, I want you to go kill these enemies. They're somewhere on the map. And you pull up the map, you'll see them. But sometimes the challenges are a little bit weird. It'll be like, high five Cranky Kong. So if you got to remember where Cranky Kong is on the stage because that won't show on the map. You go up there and high five him, you get it. It'll be take a swim. Literally, you just need to get in the water. Or it'll be like terrain surf, and you have to terrain surf for 500 meters. Stuff like that. So there's all kinds of weird stuff coming in. Some are fight enemies, some are whatever. Those give bonuses. You can also get upgrades that increase how much bonus you get for those. So all of this stuff is stacking towards that goal of hitting your emerald target. I'm really enjoying it. I've enjoyed exploring Donkey Kong Island, but there's not a ton to do there. See, I'll give full impressions next week, but it's fun. Greg, did you already start it?
I've not started it yet. No, like I said, for me, looking at it, other than the kind of the Salmon Run parallel, the other thing is the side order thing. It's Splatoon 3. That has a very run-based mode, and you're going through these different floors, and you get these kind of somewhat random kind of upgrades, and so the experience, kind of changes quite a bit because you're going to try and work to like maximize, what you can do well. Different weapons or, different buffs, then, it kind of changes the experience. And I did enjoy that. It felt like it just could have used with a few more unique elements that would have made it a bit less repetitious, but, it did kind of work. So I feel like this could work in a similar kind of way. I was just, waiting to see maybe a few more impressions because it was so sudden, obviously, just like, and it's available now. It's one thing for it to be announced. It's quite soon, after it come in this soon after the game. But for it to be, playable now, that was a real surprise. So having played as much of DK as I did, I wouldn't say that it's like, oh God, I've got to play more, cause again, it was very satisfying by itself. But depending on, what I hear about it and read about it and everything, I could see myself getting to it before too long.
The other day I had this feeling of like, I want to play DK again, but there's nothing left to do. I did all of it. And then this got announced. I'm like, well, here's $20, Nintendo. You win. All right. Well, I'll give full impressions on it next week. Next up was, I thought it was going to be Pokemon Z to A, but instead it's our third island building game, this time starring a Ditto who takes on the very creepy looking human, and then we have a Cronenbergian body horror game where the Ditto human takes on the various skills of like Bulbasaur's vine whips for arms to do island building. Am I the only person who thought this was really unpleasant to look at?
It's a peculiar one, considering it did seem like it was, skewing, again, trying to appeal to like a young audience to a fair degree. Any Pokemon game, has got a fair amount of that component to it. I guess, like, I couldn't help but think of like, there's like a thread in the Detective Pikachu movie, right, where like a Ditto is impersonating people. I could just remember Catherine Newton's face with the Ditto eyes. Like, it is creepy. It's always been creepy, so I don't know why.
Pokopia.
I thought, maybe they're gonna do, one day we could have like basically a remake of The Thing with Ditto in Antarctica or whatever.
The minute we got the Ditto human vine whips, I was like, oh, this is going to be horrifying. Now keep in mind, the introduction is Ditto wakes up in a cave, breaks out of its Pokeball, and there's a broken, what are those things? Pokedex. Implying Ditto's trainer may have died. And so Ditto just recreates human society as it remembers it, including a fucking Pokemon Center.
There is just, to be honest, it's pretty good for a lot of things in this direct. There's an absolutely classic moment in the John Carpenter The Thing, where like the sort of the one of the people that it's sort of imitated, like it's on fire, so like the head sprouts like spider legs to try and escape the fire, and just like walks away, and then one of the guys spots it. Just the head has sprouted legs and is crawling away, and just says, impeccable delivery. You've got to be fucking kidding. There's so, I mean, just this game, various aspects of this direct, like, yep, he had it. He knew what he was talking about.
But it looks like the, I don't know, like as a city builder, I'm sure it's going to be, it's going to make a lot of Pokemon fans pretty happy. Like it does look like you get to make your perfect little Pokemon village. It looks like if you build enough roads, or if you've got one road going out of your town, you're going to have a Snorlax choosing to sleep there. Yeah. So lots of little... yeah, exactly. A little nut and jokes, but like it seems to be faithful to the brand, and I don't know. Like it just like I think it's gonna be surprising to see like the different abilities that you steal. Looks like you bash blocks of dirt once you get one of the fighting Pokemon's
It was Hitmonchan's punching. Also, with the Scyther's scythes, it was tilling. There's a lot going on here. At the end, like they kind of show kind of an overview of the village you made, and it looks that looks like Pokemon. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of hidden things. Like in the very back corner, there's a waterfall, and Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee are training under it. This is the game that when I texted the girlfriend today, I was like, "There is a Pokemon island building game, again, island building count 3, that you will like on this." And the response I got was like, "Oh damn it, Switch 2." She does not have one at the moment. Also, the eye in Pokopia has the Ditto face on it because, of course, it does. No, I legitimately think this game looks very interesting. It's just like they did this in the creepiest way they could have done it, and that's extra funny.
Like personally, as a non-fan of Pokemon, as soon as they pop up on screen, I'm like, okay, well, this better be Pokemon Pinball, otherwise I'm not interested. But like, clearly, this is gonna sell so much more than a pinball game would. Like, I can't fault Game Freaks or whoever the Pokemon company for this.
Game Freak and Koei Tecmo,
right?
Yeah, it's weird.
But I mean, Koei Tecmo, no, they wouldn't have. Forget about it. I was going to bring up the Dragon Quest builder games, but they probably didn't have anything to do with that.
No, they did not. Then we got our Pokemon Z to A stuff, which we got to see some new content. We've seen this game so many times now; it's a little bit tough to know what's new content and what isn't. We got to see some Mega Evolutions. We got to see some more story stuff. We're reminded that it's October 16th, the release date. And as Greg mentioned earlier, we got to move with some alacrity here. They mentioned that DLC is going to be available for the fucking Mega Evolutions of Pikachu, and is it 2 Pikachu Mega Evolutions or is there Raichu Mega?
2 Raichu, right?
Raichu X and Raichu Y, I think. It's weird. They look dumb. They refer to Pokemon Legends Mega Dimension. Pre-orders begin today. Holo X and Holo Y apparel, and then which is what you get. The Nintendo's old strategy of DLC where you get some shirts before the content's available. It says you get 2 shirts and more content of story content available soon. Thank you, Pokemon Z to A Mega Dimension. We got the logo 3 times because they have so little to show about it. What a tremendous contribution. We're getting a remake. This may have already been kind of hinted at, a remake of Danganronpa 2 plus new content called 2x2, 2x2.
Yes.
They refer to it as 2x2.
Another way to interpret the X in the title.
Yep. 2x2, motherfuckers.
And it's too many in one short period of time, Like we've just learned to ignore the X in Dragon Drive, or that that it's an N supposedly, and now we're supposed to believe that it means bi.
I mean, it does in Lumber. Like it's a 2x2 in Lumber would be a 2x2, but this isn't Lumber. It's a fucking video game.
Yes.
This is
this is the moment where I was thinking during the presentation, how is this legible to people who don't follow video games? How do
good job. They're not playing Danganronpa.
Completely lost. Yeah, no, they're not, and they never will be. This game is not helping itself at all.
No, they shouldn't.
That's probably fine.
They shouldn't. Yeah. This game is so unwelcoming to people who don't play video games. This is 2026. It has hashtag Danganronpa 2x2.
Yeah.
Then we have our third Warriors game. This is Romance. This is Romance.
Dynasty Warriors
Origins. It's a Dynasty
Warriors. Is this
the
game that came out on PC not that long ago? Or
yeah, it is. Okay. And they announced some paid DLC that's coming to it. This is January 22nd. That's a busy day. There were some other games January 22nd. This is an update on Monster Hunter Stories 3, right? We had already announced this game once.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was just
the partner direct. This was another thing coming back from that.
This was an update on it. We got some new video content. It looks fine. We have a date for that now. It's March 13th. Then we went to our sizzle reel. We're not going to go through all of that. 2 Point Museum I thought looked really cool on PC, so I'm excited to try it. We got a Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remake. Virtua Fighter 5 is coming this winter. Lego Voyagers look neat. Persona 3 got
7.
What was that?
Sorry. Disgaea 7 is coming in November? Anyway.
Yes. Persona 3 got relegated to sizzle reel. So I'm a little surprised by. But especially because they had a demo that came out today.
Yeah, I guess that was the biggest thing of it. Because again, that was in a partner direct not long ago, right?
Yeah,
so,
I would have thought it would have at least gotten like 20 seconds. And then the big one. Resident Evil 9 is coming to Switch 2. I guess this was technically its announcement.
Yeah, I believe so. And it's like, I think it's day and date with the other versions.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, it's simultaneous, which is, that's quite a change, I guess, when you think of, obviously, Switch could have a certain amount of Resident Evil, the Resident Evil library, but, you were with the more major, current console releases, you were talking about like cloud versions and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're talking about having something that obviously, they have to do the 9 in the thing as well, don't they? So, with the typewriter sort of thing, it's like the queue is changing to a 9 or whatever.
That's lame.
To be fair, it's kind of, the thing that I kind of picked up just from the imagery is like, oh yeah, this is really going for that like, mid-90s 7 and onwards, kind of, murder thriller thing. It's raining, there's a flashlight, we're looking, she's an FBI agent investigating a series of murders, it felt very much like that mid-90s. And 7, the David Fincher film, was, the logo was with a 7 in it, wasn't it? Which doesn't even substitute well for a V.
It's awful. It's an awful logo. Did.
Very odd. But, so it felt like, it was steeped in that kind of stuff.
It's a 7. Now, quite obviously, this appears to be the Umbrella Mansion she's wandering around, too.
Oh, it's something like it anyway. You see the Umbrella logo and all
it's
that,
the old Umbrella logo, too, because keep in mind...
Because they've been... I've not... obviously, part of this is that they're going to have 7 and 8 as well.
Right.
Launching at the same time. Actual versions, rather than cloud stuff or whatever that you've had before on Switch. And, I have not played any of those games, but obviously, like, Umbrella got kind of written out with Resident Evil 4. Like, to a degree, right? Like, they weren't really involved in that, but then, like, Wesker came back in 5, I want to say, even though I've not played that either. So, I really don't know how involved Umbrella are in the recent canon, but it seemed like they were playing that up quite a bit.
They were shut down in, I want to say it was like canon 2004, but a new corporation called Umbrella was set up, who uses a blue logo, whose job it was to research what the red logoed Umbrella did in order to come up with solutions for it. But this is quite clearly red logo Umbrella, which would mean this is pre-2004 in the canon. So this could very possibly be like Resident Evil 0 was essentially the stuff happening the night before Resident Evil 1 happens. Like literally like the night before. This could be the lead up to that or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the feeling you get out of it.
Yeah. Investigating murders, not investigating zombies. Is this them dumping bodies that didn't work or something? I don't know. We don't get a lot. I mean, but it was obviously Resident Evil because the very first face you saw is, oh, that's Resident Evil face, because all those faces look the same. But we didn't get a lot here. I mean, the exciting thing is it's coming to Switch on February 27th with everything else. This is the first time we're seeing it. And they're also going to release 7 and 8 on Switch 2 the same day, which feels like a weird decision. I would probably have released those ahead of it.
I know. I remember us going on about like Pikmin 1 and 2 and HD and Pikmin 4, but this seems like even more compressed.
Yeah, but that's cool. Like, it's great to see those things coming to Switch natively or Switch 2 natively and, day and date the 7 and 8 looked really good. And we get to our last thing. That last video was very clearly Resident Evil. This was very clearly Fire Emblem. We have the announcement of a brand new Fire Emblem game. We don't get a ton of information on it. But it appears to be set in a coliseum where there is some kind of combat tournament going on with a bunch of characters who have their own motivations, called Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. There is a direct tie-in to Fire Emblem Three Houses as we meet an older Sothis, who once again castigates us for not remembering her. But besides that, we just get like a sizzle reel of a handful of characters and a little bit of combat. We do see the units that we saw from Three Houses originally show up in Three Houses, where there's like support troops that follow a character. We see mounts, new types of mounts. We see somebody on a bird, and we see a chariot. But not a lot going on here besides hearing that it's going to come out next year. But it looks pretty far along. This looks like it's got a shitload of voice acting in this trailer. So I would not be surprised if it's early 2026.
And that's localized voice acting.
Yeah.
Like that, isn't it?
So this could very well be like, it's 2026. It can be anywhere in 2026 we need it to be in the launch lineup. Or they didn't do a lot of specific, like, for Nintendo stuff. Obviously, we talked about Resident Evil, but for Nintendo stuff, they didn't do a lot of specific dates for things in 26. No. It was just like some were spring and then others simply 26. Yeah.
Obviously, it's got quite a number of things there to start wondering about how it's all going to slot together once we get into the new year. And I assume we'll have a direct, somewhere around there that'll start, doing that slotting in. But for now, you've just got a lot of things that you don't know exactly how it's going to fit together.
Late January and early February was very busy, specifically the 22nd and the 2 weeks following it. January 22nd came up like 3 times in this direct. But yeah, I mean, I would assume things like a lot of these 2026 games that look very polished, essentially it's just when their release date is when Nintendo's schedule needs them to be.
Yeah, when they decide to kind of sequence it and
divvy stuff up,
cobble it together. Yeah, so yeah, I think I still haven't got round to Three Houses. I did buy it actually relatively recently because it was on sale. One of the times it was on sale where it's, you get your 30% off.
Yeah.
So it may never be this cheap again. So I may as well buy it. So maybe I'll have enough time to actually play through that before we get to this one. Considering awesome. It is apparently, has some sort of is part of the same canon. Is actually going to follow it up in some way. I know Dietrich, I think his name was. My immediate reaction to him was he's like Norian Alucard.
Yes.
Like his armor was just like the guys, the Kingdom of Nor from Fire Emblem Fates, and he was like, I know they were all like, very pale and fair hair and all that, but he in particular was just like such an Alucard character. So that kind of struck me, but I imagine some of the stuff that really kind of alludes back to Three Houses going over my head at the minute. Yeah,
there wasn't a ton, but. I was excited about this, and I saw 2026 and was sad. But, I mean, it makes sense. Like, that's only 3 months away. There really was nowhere in the schedule for it to be. But I would have loved to have seen, like, early 2026. It'd have been like, cool, that's really exciting for me. Because, I mean, look, the last Engage was so fucking depressing. Like, Engage is a bad game, and that's a bummer. Like, I like Three Houses. I have issues with Three Houses. I think 2 of the routes make a lot of sense, and the 3rd route people only like because she's pretty. Her route doesn't make a goddamn bit of sense. And then there's that 4th side route that actually makes the most sense, but you can easily miss it. But like, I was ready for one of these that I don't not like. And actually, there's the DLC route for Three Houses that I like a lot too. But I was ready for a new one of these that I don't hate. And like, Engage did a lot of things wrong. I think its art style was bad. I mean, it was just bad. It just looks like a bad game. I think the story was kind of shit. I think the characters were poor. And it was kind of like everybody's like, oh, the treehouse thing was so creepy where adults could go off and spend personal time together. Yeah, I guess whatever. Fucking shit. People walk into your house or your bedroom and watch you sleep and Engage, and that's totally cool. I was like, no, it's not cool at all. So yeah, Engage, get the fuck out. I wonder if this is also Koei Tecmo, because of course they did Three Houses. Like, is Koei Tecmo, like, they're all over this direct if it is. So that's really interesting. But yeah, not much to go on here either. We'll obviously get to hear more about it. But this was a long direct. It was an hour long. We spent a lot of time talking about it. John didn't send me any other thoughts. He just pointed out that he's really interested about all this merch that's coming out, which I was happy to talk about Nintendo Stars because I haven't really had the opportunity to point it out that they're rebranding this thing. And nobody was talking about it. I'm like, guys, they're doing this for a reason. But fucking Labo. I mean, the Virtual Boy / Labo Virtual Boy, the non-interactive flower, the book that doesn't have the new pages in it. It's so weird. This is such a weird direct. I'm so happy. It was, for me, I think the weirdest part of it is that in a lot of ways, there was things that were just exactly as you'd expect them, kind of hitting, like we said, hitting some of those kind of 2018, 19 kinds of titles, for the equivalent point in the Switches, Switch 2's life now, as relative to Switch 1. And, things like, Mario Anniversary, that's obviously going to be, something that people are aware of just because the calendar, will start with that and, do a bunch of stuff with that. The Mario movie can come into it, like all was very much as you'd expect. And yet it had these other elements that would just completely confound expectations. Like I said, obviously the Virtual Boy, but then, all that Mario Anniversary stuff, and one of them was not Mario Sunshine on NSO, even though we know that's coming. Oh, yeah. Yes, you're right.
That is confirmed. Like, that is going to happen. And maybe it's going to happen next week. They didn't talk about it.
No.
they could have done.
No one find that exciting.
Well, fair point. Yeah, maybe it's just a recognition of like, hey, we're all focusing on the Yoshi and Galaxy synergy with the new movie. So Sunshine, and is not the most affectionately remembered anyway. So that could just go off in the corner. But to have the only NSO announcement be for something that is months away rather than launching today, to have the DLC announcement again be DK when, Mario Kart World kind of seems like the more natural choice. There was just all these situations where, there was something that you were expecting that it just kind of like flipped or, went in another direction and just, obviously the length of it. So yeah, it sometimes, you kind of feel like, they've in the recent past, maybe they've been more apt to split some of these things up a bit. And, maybe that helps with expectations management and, just like fatigue of people watching it or whatever. But I guess just with this whole Mario Anniversary thing, almost like being the centerpiece of this, even though like that what could have been a presentation by itself, clearly, yes. But they wanted that to anchor the rest of the stuff that's doing the obvious job of like, okay, what's the roadmap for the end of the year? And then, a good amount of stuff that's setting the table for next year.
Yep. Guillaume?
Yeah, like the impression I got from it, like I kind of, like the announcements or whatever, like some of the stuff, I'm looking forward to and some of the stuff less so and, is not at all for me. But like overall, the presentation, I kind of wonder, like I'd be interested in seeing if there wasn't like a change in like who directed it or edited it because, it could have stood to be like 30% snappier, like I just, this was like over an hour long.
Yeah, it was an hour, 8 minutes.
It could have been 45 minutes. Like, I feel genuinely like it was bloated and just the commenting like, Koizumi just saying what we just saw in a trailer, just repeating it was, after a while, kind of insufferable.
And again, like the choices of when they chose to do that versus when they didn't with as we did with Metroid, like that was weird.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to kind of repeat what you were saying. So you're good.
Yeah, and the whole Mario stuff at the beginning, like, I did North America need to hear about the Kyoto marathon and that whole stuff? Like, I don't think that anyone's gonna fly to Japan for that.
Oh, like, they absolutely will. Marathon runners are crazy. They'll absolutely fly to Japan to run the Kyoto Marathon.
Well, there were probably other places for them to plug that,
sure,
other than this Nintendo Direct. That and the movie stuff, like the Minions producer guy. I'm sorry, like it sounded like they used the first take that they got, and they had given him the directive of speaking very slowly, and that's not something that he's used
very,
to.
Very deliberate, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like there was no energy to it, and they just repeat the voice actors like we know them. They were in the first movie.
I would assume that was all.
About?
I'd assume that was all contractually obligated. That like the
Right.
voice actors had to be named because it's in their riders. That Miyamoto had to be the one to introduce the segment. Like, I bet that's all negotiated between lawyers.
But it's a lousy deal for this type of, like, Karen was, kind of half, she was, making dinner at the same time. I was watching it, and then she was like, who is he talking to? Like, it sounded all of a sudden that this was for investors. And again, like, that's one thing about this Nintendo Direct, like, very kind of like childish little, like the presenter talking in a childish way, talking about Yoshi, and then moving on to Fatal Frame, and like, but like talking about Fatal Frame, and it's like you can't sell a horror tone after what we just watched. Like, it didn't really work. So I felt like it was kind of all over the place, and I don't know if I'm just being grouchy, but like I feel like I'm kind of maybe over the Nintendo Direct format. Oh. Like, this whole thing doesn't really work for me anymore. I don't want to see a trailer and then hear about the trailer and not get more info about it and then move on to the next thing. I'm done. And like I feel like there needs to be maybe like a different voiceover for the different types of games, and they gotta stop talking like they're talking to babies most of the time. Sorry, all of a sudden I'm very grouchy. Maybe it is because it is getting late. I do like, I'm glad that Nintendo is putting out games in the future and that they will continue to do so.
we paid a lot of money for these consoles. I'm glad things are coming to them.
Yes, I will be playing Metroid Prime 4 and most of, like Dragon Quest 7, sure. All of that stuff. Like, it's not that I'm not excited about the games that are coming. It's just that this... Yeah, I really want to say, like, this could have been an email. Like,
Oh, no, that's not fair. There's no way the Virtual Boy segment could have been an email.
Yeah, well, it should have been its own thing in a 30-minute presentation.
30 minutes of just like the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, because it distracted from everything else anyway.
It was so... I mean, in a weird way, like, the title I'm playing with for this one in my head is I'm seeing double 4 Virtual Boys.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Okay. It's... like, it's not just the book leading into the Virtual Boy with all the other weird shit. Like, here's the bib that's going to be part of the Kyoto Marathon. Like, that's really silly. I mean,
that's another thing. Like, this whole transition to, like, we're going to make these products and sell them to you is like, why is everything so half-assed? Like, the book missing the new pages. I feel like that's a huge blunder.
It's just stupid.
Like, why?
Like,
it is.
It's not like the pages
don't need
been
like the
written
second
yet.
revised edition of like a children's book.
Maybe you do. What if the new page is just, haha, those idiots bought a book? It'd be so good if the new pages are just like, don't you wish this page was in the book? What about this one? I love it. I love how dumb all of this is. It's just, there's like a nice thread of this is stupid. And they're doing it the dumbest way possible. And yet they've still somehow got me. And I just keep thinking, you fucks. I wonder if the new page is just a different story, and that's why it's not in the book. I don't know. Maybe it's literally like 2 pages. Maybe it's almost nothing. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Book's $25. I would like to. Maybe they'll mail you the new pages if you buy the book. You can insert them yourself. You know what? I bet you'll be able to buy the new pages printed off Etsy and put them on there. You can rebind the book.
Or you buy them for platinum coins and you print them yourself.
They're self-print. It's just like when you get the birthday cards and you have to print them.
Yeah,
print your birthday
they've done that before.
card to yourself from Nintendo for 900 points. Fuck you, Nintendo. All right. We're going to wrap it here. Greg, did you have any music?
Yeah, well, I thought I'd follow Nintendo's lead, really, and go with something from Super Mario Galaxy 2, actually. I think we got a tiny glimpse, maybe not of this particular level, but this is the Fleet Glide Galaxy, which was one of the, like, motion control kind of equivalent. You know, like in Galaxy 1, you've got, like, where you're on you're on the walking on the ball and it's a motion control thing, or you're on the, like, manta ray in the water. Like, they had these ones where you're gliding on a bird in Galaxy 2 as like the kind of equivalent of that. And I definitely saw a bit of that in the trailer for the re-release. And this is, I said, might not be that specific level because I think there was more than one. But this Fleet Glide Galaxy music, I think it's getting towards the end, you know, the second half of the game at this point. And it's just, yeah, it's very sort of bombastic, very stirring, kind of rousing stuff. You've got kind of, I think it's got a little bit of like the kind of new Super Mario Brothers desert like theme in there for some reason, but then it also kind of segues into the primary Galaxy motif, you know, that's referenced in the movie teaser trailer and everything. Just, yeah, kind of encapsulates all that big energy, you know, orchestral kind of feel that the Galaxy games had.
Cool. All right. Well, on that, it is past time for us to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.